Chapter 937. Yen Cuxing had been suppressed, and the mark of the ascetic king had been sealed by Jiangli. The farce had ended just like that. One could not be too arrogant. Otherwise, one would end up like Yen Cuxing. Jiangli sighed. In reality, in the entire red dust realm, there were billions of spacetimes. Who knew how many fortuitous encounters occurred every day? Perhaps someone like him would be born. However, back then, he had obeyed order and created order. If someone like Yen Cuxing was like this, he would be a malignant tumor and a destroyer of the world. Although he had suppressed Yen Cuxing, such things would definitely happen in the future. It must be known that this was only the first mark. There were already so many marks after 129,600 reincarnations. If all the marks flew out and fell into the red dust realm, even if Jiang Li's cultivation was 10 times stronger, he would not be able to suppress them. Just now, he had used all of his cultivation to suppress Yen Cuxing. If another person with a mark appeared, he would not be able to suppress them. The red dust realm would be thrown into chaos, not to mention that there were 3 or 4 of them. Of course, in order to prevent such a thing from happening, he had to increase his own strength. Right now, he had to refine the mark of the ascetic king. Although even the primal chaos could not refine the mark, Jiangli felt that he could. The primal chaos could not refine it because the opportunity had not arrived. His infinite great path was the opportunity of thousands of reincarnations. If he wanted to surpass the primal chaos, he had to do something that even the primal chaos could not do. Of course, with Jiang Li's current cultivation, it would be difficult for him to refine the mark of the ascetic king. However, Jiang Li did not intend to refine it. Instead, he wanted to use Yen Cuxing's blood and soul to transform and numb the mark. He wanted the mark to become his own treasure and second primordial spirit. Although he could not merge it into the depths of his own soul, he could still use its power. In other words, Jiang Li had forged an existence similar to the ruler of the world. Then, he would use the mark of the ascetic king to activate it. This existence would have the power of the ascetic king. This would be his trump card. In this way, he would have the strongest fighter. When he saw the ascetic king's battle prowess, he was deeply afraid. If a few more seals flew out from the depths of the myriad world celestial sphere, the red dust realm that he had painstakingly built for so long would collapse. He would never allow such a thing to happen. Whoever dared to destroy the stability of the red dust realm would die. Yen Cuxing, lend me your soul and bloodline. Jiang Li looked at the arrogant youth and said, You have already violated the laws of humanity. According to the laws of the mortal realm, you should be killed and sent to the depths of hell to suffer for eternity. However, I will give you a chance to free yourself. I will use a portion of your soul and bloodline to forge an avatar. You will still have a portion of your soul and bloodline, which will allow you to live a peaceful and stable life in the secular world. You will be able to make amends for your mistake. Furthermore, after being transformed by the infinite great Tao, your bloodline and soul itself will possess the supreme true essence of cultivation. I hope that you will be able to protect the mortal realm, maintain the rare peace and order, and not be a destroyer of order, causing misery and suffering. Rumble! Jiang Li struck out with his palm, causing Yen Cuxing to bleed. Then, the blood mixed with his soul and gradually seeped into the ascetic king's seal. As Jiang Li's infinite great Tao poured in, a person that looked exactly like him began to grow. As for Yen Cuxing himself, he transformed into a beam of light and returned to the mortal realm. He returned to the city where he had just been beaten up. He was still curled up in a ball, but then he woke up. He looked around. Everything that had just happened, and he couldn't tell if it was a dream or if it had really happened. Could it be that I just had a dream? I dreamed that I suddenly obtained the ascetic king's seal and became invincible. But then I was suppressed by the master of the mortal realm, Jiang Li? Yen Cuxing rubbed his eyes and shook his head. Why would I have such a strange dream? Although it was a dream, I felt as if it was real. The scenes in the dream were still vivid in my mind. I even remembered some of the techniques clearly. I even felt as if I really had that kind of power. Yen Kuxing sank into deep thought. He remembered that the techniques of the ascetic king were actually useful. Therefore, he began to cultivate. Jiang Li didn't wipe out this person's memories. As long as this person wasn't arrogant and could maintain his order, not cause chaos and protect humanity, it wouldn't matter if he gave him the ascetic king's seal. However, once this person obtained power, he became arrogant. He even wanted to kill all the men and only keep the beautiful women as his harem. This was simply demented. Jiang Li didn't kill him and allowed him to live. That was a great mercy. Swoosh, 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 just as he was cultivating, a group of people suddenly appeared, causing him to wake up. This group of people wore black armor, and they all had the aura of gods on their bodies. Logically speaking, gods couldn't possibly appear in such a small place. However, there were so many gods surrounding Yen Kuxing. It was obvious that they had received orders from their superiors. Yen Kuxing, come with us. The Minister of War has ordered you to undergo training. You've reached the heavens in a single step. However, your thoughts must be changed. A few gods grabbed Yen Kuxing, opened up the void and disappeared. Naturally, this was what Jiang Li had ordered his subordinates to do. This person had great luck, so he couldn't be killed. If he could change his thoughts, that would be the best. Perhaps in the future, the ascetic king's seal would be left for him to use as a matrix. This was all predestined, and it was difficult to erase. Everything was under his control. A smile appeared on Jiang Li's face. In the depths of the infinite river, there was a continuous cleansing of divine mantras. As a result, the avatar that contained the ascetic king's seal began to transform into the strongest existence. It sat cross-legged and communicated with him. He could already use the power of the ascetic king. He used the infinite great path and successfully bewitched the ascetic king's seal. He could borrow its power to kill evil demons and accomplish what he wanted to do. In this way, he had an additional expert who could move according to his will. Very good. I've refined the life seal of the strongest expert into an avatar. In any case, I can't melt the seal, so it doesn't matter. I'll suppress him in the red dust realm and use him as a laborer. He'll continuously refine the entire world, refine the primordial golden core, absorb vital energy, resist the primordial chaos, and obtain power from the depths of the primordial chaos. Then, he'll transform the entire world, Jiang Li thought to himself. The ascetic king was the most powerful expert in the reincarnation realms, and no ordinary person could possibly compare to him. The worlds he created were unparalleled under heaven, and with the snap of a finger, he could create billions upon billions of worlds or destroy them. The ascetic king's avatar flew into the red dust realm, suppressed the vital energy, and opened passageways to primal chaos palea energy. Because it was an avatar, it had the power of the ancient well of all living beings. However, every time it tried to absorb primal chaos palea energy, it would be difficult for even someone who surpassed the Grand Emperor level to resist it. But the ascetic king was different. His sealing mark was indestructible, and primal chaos couldn't do anything to it. As he absorbed the primal chaos palea energy, he absorbed it one by one, transforming it into power for himself. Sure enough, streams of supreme power began to gather and circulate together. The foundation of the red dust realm grew stronger, and as the ascetic king breathed in and out, the essence of the red dust realm condensed and expanded like a balloon. Up to this point, no world had ever had a top expert like this. If the ascetic king could recover, he would surpass the river of fate, Paramitha, and the will of the three-dimensional universe. In his reincarnation era, he was the strongest. That era also had the will of fate, Paramitha, and the three-dimensional universe, but none of them had been a match for the ascetic king. In the end, he had conquered the world. With the ascetic king's help, the red dust realm continued to grow stronger day and night. It was far stronger than the heavenly world of justice, the dragon world, and the martial world put together. It would be no exaggeration to say that the ascetic king could create the heavenly world of justice, the dragon world, and the martial world. After all, he was the most powerful expert in reincarnation. In the blink of an eye, he could create the most powerful world. Not bad. Not bad at all. Now I have my plan in motion. Jiang Li's eyes flashed. First, I have to subdue the strongest warriors in the heavenly world of justice, the dragon world, and the martial world. I have to suppress Jiang Nalan, the son of Paramitha, the son of fate, and the crown prince of Great Dream. In addition, I have to subdue the nirvana world and the river of fate and merge them into the depths of the infinite river. I even have to capture the will of the three-dimensional universe. Only then can I open the Yuanshir's treasure. However, with the appearance of the ascetic king's mark, I don't think I need the key. The Yuanshir's treasure will also be opened. Right now there is only one person who is most familiar with the Yuanshir's treasure, and that is the maid. I have to capture the maid now. This is the most important thing. As for the matter of attacking the dragon world and the martial world, I will leave it to Dreamkite and the others. I can't do everything I can. Jiang Li left. Now Dreamkite, Luo Feng, Hong Heiyu, Hua Zhuxian, Hua Lu Dao, Long Yueji, Dahe, Luohan, Shiren, Zi Piao, Zi Changye, and the other core members had basically become great emperors or existences that surpassed great emperors. They had enough strength to start a crusade against the heavens and gain experience from fighting against them. As for the strongest martial artist and the others, they were their touchstones. Jiang Li began to search for the existence of Yuanshir's maid in the depths of space-time. This time, he had made up his mind to capture this woman. This woman had countless secrets. Only by capturing her could he obtain more information about the treasure and grasp the next step of the plan. Chapter 938. Yuanshir's maid was nowhere to be found. Ever since Jiang Li took the inextinguishable magic lamp and refined the primordial battlefield into the primordial gold pill, she had disappeared without a trace. Because she had lost her life-saving means, her strength was greatly weakened. If she held the child of the Nirvana realm, the child of destiny, and the inextinguishable magic lamp, she could gradually integrate the fortunes of the two children and absorb them into her body. She would be able to obtain the blessing of the treasure deep in Yuanshir's myriad world celestial sphere. That way, she would be able to obtain even more benefit. Jiang Li had to find this woman and capture her. Although this woman had lost the immortal magic lamp and suffered a great defeat, she was definitely not simple. Since the ascetic king's imprint had appeared, there would definitely be other imprints appearing. Perhaps one of those imprints would fall into this woman's hands, which would make it easier for her to stir up trouble. Hence, Jiang Li wanted to suppress this woman like how he suppressed the ascetic king and obtain another of the strongest imprint. This woman would definitely be able to obtain one. Otherwise, Yuanshir would not have made her a maid. Yuanshir's calculations were precise and would not go wrong. Jiang Li's calculations were all calculated, and he took this opportunity to increase his bargaining chip. No matter how the primordial heavenly king schemed, he had already perished. He was still in the mortal world, and he had to seize this opportunity. He couldn't let the primordial heavenly king become the strongest in this reincarnation cycle. He was the strongest, the most invincible, the most ferocious existence. The red dust realm's strength was now the true number one in all the realms. It had surpassed fate, nirvana, and the three-dimensional universe. However, he still could not let his guard down. He had to continue expanding. In the last reincarnation, this little bit of strength was not a problem. Just as Jiang Li headed into the depths of spacetime, he saw the red dust realm starting a war against the dragon realm, the martial realm, and the righteous realm. The entire demon realm was gradually being absorbed by Hong Heiyu and integrated into the underworld in the depths of the red dust realm. The demon realm's heavens could not resist. This was because the ascetic king was there. Even the demon realm's heavens was afraid of this incarnation. As a result, the entire demon world turned into a stream of space-time black gas, and was absorbed by the mortal realm until only a small tail was left. In the end, there was a rumble, and the demon realm disappeared. In its place was the red dust realm, which was stained with a layer of black chi, like ink falling into a pool. But then, with a flash, the demonic energy was dispelled. All the demons that entered the underworld were cleansed by the boundless power. They had to accept the rules and act according to the laws of the mortal realm. In reality, there were two invincible masters in the red dust realm now. The first was the ascetic king, and the second was the ancestor of martial arts, Ba Liming. Although he had transformed into the long river of martial arts, he still paid attention to the red dust realm at all times, increasing the true meaning of martial arts. When the two experts joined hands, they could suppress anyone. Although Nirvana and Fate had joined forces, they could not do anything to the red dust realm. Only then did Jiangli feel at ease and boldly search for Yuanshir's maidservants, and let the red dust realm fight. Where is the handmaiden of the primordial heavenly king hiding? Could it be that she really did obtain the mark of the strongest expert? If she did, then it would be troublesome. But if she did, she would definitely come out to stir up trouble. She wouldn't be silent and would hide in the dark. It's very likely that she's waiting for an opportunity, waiting for the mark to descend. At that time, she would begin to stir up trouble. But if I take advantage of this opportunity, I can capture her in one fell swoop and obtain another mark, doubling my strength. Jiang Li secretly calculated. Many illusory scenes appeared around him. This was a boundless calculation. In the depths of the everlasting magic lamp, he found the mark of the maidservant. The maidservant had obtained the everlasting magic lamp, and had bitterly cultivated within it. She had long since planted a supreme mark in the deepest parts of her body. Now that he had obtained it and fused it into his body, he would be able to obtain clues. He began to calculate, and his entire person became almost non-existent. There was only a wisp of dream, a bit of true meaning, a bit of profound meaning, and a bit of smoke. Then, in the deepest emptiness, he began to grasp the aura of the maidservant. Rumble! He appeared from the depths of space-time. His eyes shot out and he saw the densely packed space-time turbulence. In the depths of the great overarching heavenly Tao, there seemed to be a shadow setting up an altar. That shadow was Yuanshir's maidservant. Now, Jiang Li had entered the depths of the space-time turbulence of the myriad world. The space-time turbulence was complex and ever-changing. There were many dimensions, and even its form and substance were completely different. There were secret whirlpools, wormholes, God's ruins, primordial ruins, savage battlefield, and the eternal traces of the myriad worlds tearing each other apart. For example, the primordial battlefield that Jiang Li had obtained was the greatest remnant in the depths of the space-time turbulence. In addition, there were many remnants left behind from the great war of gods and demons. The primordial battlefield was only one of them. There were also the desolate ruins, fiend god whirlpool, sea of saints, sea of yin-yang, and chaotic labyrinth. In the depths of the space-time turbulence, there were secrets that Jiang Li could not imagine. Although his magic power was profound, his cultivation was pure, and his strength was boundless, he had not reached the level where he could refine the material world. Even the strongest experts could not refine the material world. Therefore, many of the material world's secrets still needed to be explored. However, he could see the overall situation of the material world. It was like how humans could see the sun and the moon, but they did not know what was inside. However, as Jiang Li's cultivation increased, refining the material world was only a matter of time. I caught her. She's in the chaotic labyrinth. Jiang Li locked onto the maidservant's position. She was in a very deep natural spacetime maze. It was formed by wormholes, and it was filled with the power of distorted spacetime. Even a martial emperor would find it difficult to come out after entering. It was rumored that the distorted power produced during the primal chaos Big Bang had formed this spacetime maze. It was rumored that there were many innate primal chaos treasures in the depths of the maze. Since ancient times, countless experts had entered the maze to explore it. Some had indeed obtained innate primal chaos treasures, but even more had fallen inside, leaving not even their bones behind. It was rumored to be one of the 10 most dangerous places. Chaotic Labyrinth. However, this was nothing to Jiang Li. He had even refined the number one of the 10 most dangerous places, the Grand Mist Battlefield. He could swallow this chaotic labyrinth in one gulp. Of course, he did not want to alert the enemy. He wanted to see what the maidservant was up to. If she had obtained some secret from the depths of the myriad world's celestial sphere, then he wouldn't be able to swallow the chaotic labyrinth in one gulp. Now, Jiang Li felt that the treasure in the depths of the myriad world's celestial sphere was definitely not Yuanshir's treasure. It was an obstacle he had set up. He had discovered some secret, the secret of the last reincarnation. His body turned incorporeal again, and he entered the depths of the chaotic labyrinth slowly. Whoosh, 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 he heard the sound of wind from the depths of the labyrinth. It wasn't an ordinary wind, but the chaotic divine wind. Even a martial emperor had to avoid it, or they would be turned to ashes. However, the wind couldn't touch Jiang Li, because Jiang Li didn't exist. He didn't absorb the power of the wind, afraid that the maidservant would find out. After a while, he approached the depths of the chaotic labyrinth and saw an altar. On top of the altar there were actually 2 statues of deities. One of them was extremely tall, clad in white, with the void on his shoulders and the physical world beneath his feet. He seemed to be the strongest god that separated the void and the physical world. His face was resolute and unyielding, and he was burly and majestic. His chest was grand and majestic, and his head was noble and glorious. This was the primordial heavenly king. Jiang Li recognized that statue. It was the true Yuanshir. Below the primordial heavenly king was a small statue of a god. This statue was of a woman, and her entire body was shrouded in muslin clothes. It seemed hazy, like a ghost, like a dream. However, in the depths of the muslin clothes, a beautiful body could be vaguely seen. However, the core essence of this statue was the aura of the strongest. This woman was actually the statue of the strongest expert in the cycle of reincarnation, and Yuanshir was even taller than her. The maidservant was here to use the power of the primordial heavenly king to imitate the essence, energy, and soul of the strongest woman, so that she could accept the mark of the strongest woman. The strongest expert of the 89th cycle of reincarnation, the Yoga King, the maidservant said. I share the same bloodline as you. I'm your successor, your spiritual successor. Your anima destiny mark is about to fall into my hands. O mighty Yuanshir, you discovered the location of the mark in the depths of primal chaos, communicated with the treasure trove, and transformed it into the myriad world's celestial sphere. That's the secret of primal chaos. But now, the key to that secret is in Jiang Li's hands. He was supposed to be your shelter, but now he's out of your control. My plan has failed. What do I do now? I hope that your noble spirit will bestow upon me something that will allow me to receive the mark of the Yoga King. The maidservant prayed with all her heart, and then began to cultivate. Vital energy wriggled and surged out of her, as if she were communicating with some mighty entity. The statue of Yuanshir began to emit divine light that began to refine her body. Humph! Jiang Li snorted coldly. The pinnacle of cultivation in the world was the infinite great Tao. Even in the primal chaos, it was impossible to find a cultivation technique that was stronger than the infinite great Tao. That was because it was the quintessence of all of the opportunities of the 129,600 cycles of reincarnation that had been bestowed upon her body. Now, the maidservant was pursuing trifles. In order to pursue power, she wasn't cultivating her own infinite great Tao. Instead, she was borrowing Yuanshir's power. She was wholeheartedly losing her independence and becoming someone else's slave. But cultivating the infinite great Tao was different. She definitely wasn't a slave to Jiangli, because the infinite great Tao itself had limitless possibilities. Jiangli himself couldn't control it. If he could control it, then the infinite great Tao wouldn't be infinite. Then the infinite great Tao would be limited and meaningless. Rumble. The maidservant's prayer was answered. The statue of the Yoga King split open, opening up a passageway. Faintly, from the depths of space and time, a mark appeared. It was the mark of the Yoga King. Jiangli didn't move. He could sense Yuanshir's god power surging. He was still alive. Chapter 939. Sure enough, Jiang Li's guess was right. Yuanshir's maid had secrets that could allow her to obtain the mark of the strongest expert. And now, she had lured out the natal mark of the Yoga King. The King of Yoga was the most powerful person in many reincarnations. She was a woman. She used her supreme cultivation to create yoga, which even influenced many reincarnations. Even in the current civilization on Earth, the practice of yoga still occupied an important position. Earth's civilization was created by the heavenly king of the primordial beginning. Many ancient civilizations must have been under the control of the heavenly king of the primordial beginning himself. He must have first obtained the imprint of the Yoga King and mastered the way of yoga. Therefore, he entered this civilization into the history of Earth. Thus, the way of yoga prevailed. The Yoga King contained the deepest secrets of reincarnation, and it was no less powerful than the ascetic king. Jiangli watched as the maid kept calling out to Yuanshir. The statue of Yuanshir grew more and more majestic. Finally, the mark in the depths of the statue of the Yoga King seemed to break through space and directly appear here. Chaotic labyrinth, the maid chanted again. You are a space-time labyrinth condensed from the Big Bang of the primordial chaos. I know that in ancient times, you devoured countless demon gods who came to explore and gained your own will. You can be considered a world of your own. In the depths of this labyrinth, you also contain countless ancient godly weapons. Now I will collect you and offer you as a sacrifice to the ancient primordial heavenly king of primordial beginning. Don't resist. Through my sacrifice, you will gain the greatest opportunity in front of the primordial heavenly king of primordial beginning. In addition, your sacrifice will allow me to finally obtain the imprint of the Yoga King. Her majestic power spread out, and the space-time of the entire chaotic labyrinth trembled, as if submitting to Yuanshir's will. The chaotic labyrinth did indeed have its own will, but it was incomplete and still in the stage of ignorance. Therefore, now that she was using Yuanshir's will to subdue the chaotic labyrinth, there was a high chance that she would succeed. Sure enough, the chaotic labyrinth seemed to have been subdued. The labyrinth began to shrink, and the strength of the labyrinth increased by 1,000 times. In the depths of some of the most important nodes of the labyrinth, there were treasures flickering. They were actually innate chaos divine weapons. In the depths of the reverse labyrinth, countless innate chaotic divine weapons existed, emitting the strongest light and heat that connected the entire labyrinth. Now, the maidservant wanted to collect this maze, just like how Jiang Li collected the primordial battlefield. As she did, a magical symbol appeared on her forehead, along with a voice of will. Right now, the mortal realms are the most powerful of all the worlds, and they're a serious threat to our plans. Jiang Li has acquired the foundation of a boundless great Tao, and his cultivation base is growing stronger and stronger. He's now the most powerful great Tao in all of the countless cycles of reincarnation. He's completely subverted his cultivation base, causing godhood, the great emperor, and eternal life of heaven and earth to lose their effects. It's very likely that he'll become the most powerful expert in this cycle of reincarnation and will be the most important seal the primal chaos hopes to acquire. Almighty Yuanshi, what should we do next? She was still communicating with the primordial heavenly king. Yuanshi, on the other hand, didn't send his will down. He seemed to be using his own god power to accept the reverse labyrinth's sacrifice to spread his will. Rumble. The reverse labyrinth underwent a fundamental transformation, shrinking to the size of a chicken egg. It was similar to how the primordial battlefield had shrunk to the size of a grand mist gold core. It had become a chaos gold core. Then, the gold core became a sacrifice, ready to fuse into Yuanshi's body. Jiangli watched on, but didn't make a move. Not even Yuanshi could detect him. After all, this wasn't Yuanshi's true body. If he could be detected, it would mean that he was far from being a match for Yuanshi. Even if Yuanshi's true body came, he would have to fight him first to know who was stronger. The Chaos Gold Core transformed into vital energy, which was sacrificed to Yuanshi's holy elephant. Then, the statue of the primordial heavenly king actually moved. He grabbed the statue of the Yoga King below with his big hand and directly broke it. Crack! The statue of the Yoga King broke into pieces. Then, a host of runes emerged from the statue, which eventually formed into a true natal mark. Then, it fell into the maid's hand. At this point, Jiangli appeared. He reached out with his hand again. This time, he held it up as if it were a feather. When the Yoga King's mark reached the center of his palm, it seemed to be absorbed. It couldn't float up and then began to melt. A gelatinous substance appeared on his palm, which wrapped around the mark and absorbed it into his body. The Yoga King's mark disappeared. He had absorbed it, but he didn't refine it. This time, the process of collecting the imprint of the Yoga King was much smoother than that of the ascetic king. Firstly, his cultivation had increased a lot. Secondly, the imprint had not yet attached itself to the maidservant's body. Thirdly, when the imprint came out, its real spirit was suppressed by primeval heavenly kings' domineering cultivation and willpower. When Jiangli collected the imprint, he released its spirituality. As a result, he was recognized by the Yoga King. Of course, Jiangli's body also evolved various kinds of the maidservant's aura and successfully collected the imprint of the Yoga King into his body. The infinite great path rushed into the depths of the Yoga King's mark with irresistible force, trying to create another outer body incarnation. If it succeeded, Jiangli would have another supreme incarnation, which was at the same level as the ascetic king. In that case, no one in the world would be his match. Both the ascetic king and the Yoga King were the strongest in samsara. They were more powerful than the heavenly will, nirvana, and fate of the three-dimensional universe. If both of them became Jiangli's incarnations and incarnations, it would be terrifying to the extreme. Jiangli could immediately break the curse, unify the myriad world, and gather all the power to obtain the secrets of Yuanshi's treasure. Although Yuanshi had communicated with the place where the marks were stored, he hadn't obtained them. Moreover, to obtain the marks, he needed a chance which he didn't have yet. He could only wait for an opportunity. However, the marks of the ascetic king and the Yoga King had allowed Jiangli to take advantage of them. In an instant, a faintly discernible shadow appeared behind Jiangli. It was a woman, the Yoga King. There was a gentleness in her eyes that seemed to be able to dissolve all sharp forces. She was like water and cotton, like clouds and silk, shining brilliantly. She had a completely different style from the ascetic king. Jiangli, it's you. The primordial heavenly king's handmaiden rose to her feet, a look of fury on her face. How dare you be so audacious as to rob me right in front of the primordial heavenly king? Do you think you can keep the Yoga King's seal? Each of the 129,600 marks has its own special ability, corresponding to a special person. Is that so? Jiangli said, 129,599 imprints. Who will be the strongest in the last cycle has yet to be decided. No, it's already been decided. The strongest person in the last cycle will be Yuanshi. Do you think it's you? Jiang Li, you're overthinking things. You're not the strongest, nor are you the favored son of heaven. Do you know why Yuanshi disappeared? He didn't die, didn't fall, and didn't go into hibernation. He didn't need your body to resurrect himself, because he turned himself into the mark of the strongest and took up a title. In this way, the 129,600 marks will be complete, and the latecomers will never be able to snatch his position as the strongest. It's impossible for you to become the strongest of this era. There's only one end for you, and that is death. Of course, if you surrender now and hand everything over to Yuanshi, you still have a chance to live. The maidservant became more and more agitated. She stood under the statue of Yuanshi, and her whole body grew taller, as if she had merged with Yuanshi. Jiang Li, kneel. Kneel in front of Yuanshi's statue and beg for forgiveness. Only then can you obtain the ultimate liberation. Otherwise, you'll die. Kneel? Beg for forgiveness? Jiang Li laughed out loud. The heavenly king of primordial beginning actually turned himself into a mark, and it was even the mark of the strongest. Was he afraid that the successor would become the strongest and occupy his position and the luck in this reincarnation? That's ridiculous. He's too narrow-minded. Since you worship primeval heavenly kings so much, I'll capture him and even melt his fate mark. I'll let you know that he's not the strongest expert in this reincarnation cycle, because the primordial chaos can't refine the mark of the strongest expert. If I can refine the mark of primeval heavenly king, it means that he's not the strongest expert. And you, I'm going to capture you today. If you can become Yuanshi's maidservant, then you can become mine. Rumble! Jiang Li grabbed out with his huge hands, continuously swallowing and spitting, changing and changing. Boundless godly fists blasted out in the air, terrifying waves and waves, completely surrounding the serving girl. The maidservant and Jiang Li had fought time and time again, and each time, she would injure Jiang Li. She grew more and more mysterious and powerful. But then Jiang Li's profound cultivation base allowed him to take over the primordial battlefield and the everlasting magic lamp. That put the maidservant at a disadvantage. Now that the Yoga King's mark had been taken away, her luck had fallen even further. Jiang Li's cultivation base wasn't any weaker than Yuanshi's, so the maidservant couldn't resist. However, when Jiang Li grabbed her, the maidservant laughed and said, "Jiang Li, do you really think you've taken the Yoga King's mark? Let me tell you, it's all part of Yuanshi's plan. The Yoga King needs energy to appear, and you've taken it. You're absorbing your energy." Sure enough, before Jiang Li could grab the maidservant, he felt a great deal of energy draining away from him. It was all sucked away by the Yoga King. Furthermore, the maidservant appeared above his head and began to cast an incantation to seal him. Humph! I've already expected this. Jiang Li didn't panic at all. Chapter 940. There was indeed a trap in the depths of the Yoga King's natal mark. Although the woman seemed to be refined by Jiang Li, in fact, she was constantly absorbing Jiang Li's energy to strengthen herself and then kill Jiang Li. This was Yuanshi's plan, but it was also part of Jiang Li's plan. The two of them plotted against each other. The moment the Yoga King absorbed Jiang Li's power, Jiang Li's body kept changing. A huge and distant energy broke through the air and directly rushed into the Yoga King's body. It was the mighty divine power of the ascetic king and the long rivers. In addition, there was also the increasing power of the secular world. All the power was concentrated at one point and exploded. Crack! Something in the Yoga King's body was broken. It was a talisman. The talisman was round but not round, square but not square. Primeval's aura appeared on it and soared into the sky. That was the talisman left by Yuanshi. Absorb it! Jiang Li grabbed again. An infinite hand appeared and grabbed the talisman. Then, he began to destroy it with the crushing power of the infinite river. The talisman made a squeaking sound as if it were alive. It wanted to fly out, but it couldn't escape from Jiang Li's palm. Yoga King, listen to my command. Then, Jiang Li's voice poured into the Yoga King's body. The woman danced, her body wriggled, and she evolved a series of unique skills. It was almost unpredictable and supreme. That was the yoga dance. This dance combined with Jiang Li's martial art. Yin and Yang were in harmony, and it seemed to evolve the most powerful unique skills. At the same time, behind Jiang Li, another man appeared. It was the ascetic king. The ascetic king and the yoga king gathered together and shot out beams of divine light that attacked the talisman. The runes suddenly exploded and flowed everywhere. Then, they turned into wriggling worms that seeped into Jiang Li's body, as if they wanted to seize Jiang Li's body for their own use. The primeval worm swallows flesh and blood to seize and reincarnate. The primeval bloodline turns into a worm. At this moment, Yuanshir's maid screamed. In the depths of Jiang Li's bloodline, some of his bloodline seemed to have turned into insects that wanted to burrow out of Jiang Li's body. Jiang Li, you have Yuanshir's bloodline. Even if you turn this bloodline into an infinite bloodline, there will still be Yuanshir's bloodline left in it. This cannot be erased, because you are his descendant. All the humans on Earth are his descendant. Do you understand? Now, Yuanshir's bloodline is about to transform you. It will turn you into a house, a shell. Your soul will become a sacrifice, and your will become energy. Moreover, all the humans on Earth will become the primeval worm. They will crazily devour the energy of the myriad worlds. When the physical world collapses, they will return to Yuanshir's body. The voice of Yuanshir's maid was very gloomy, like the howling of a ghost from the depths of hell. It was a curse that could drag people into an abyss of eternal damnation. The infinite bloodline is indeed the infinite bloodline. It is the most powerful bloodline in thousands of reincarnations. It is not something the primeval bloodline can compare to. Now I will show you what the most powerful bloodline is. Melt it for me, and everything will be invincible. Jiang Li didn't care at all. Raging flames appeared in his body. This was the infinite flame, the quintessential flame, the most powerful flame in the depths of thousands of reincarnations. Crack! The invincible flame rose up, and the power of the contract exploded out everywhere. Jiang Li's voice rang out like a great bell. The eternal infinity. After thousands of reincarnations, the most profound of destinies, the infinite was born. I, Jiang Li, have formed the most intimate contract with you. The infinite is infinite, the infinite is invincible, the infinite is unstoppable, the infinite is lifeless, the infinite is anatta, the infinite is no return. All of the infinite are closely related to my fate, and I use my fleshly body and my soul to act as the carriers of the destinies of the infinite. Without me, the infinite would not exist. Without me, the infinite would not have appeared in this reincarnation cycle. Therefore, I am the infinite, and the infinite is me. After thousands of reincarnations, I have appeared. I am the only destiny, and the only way to transcend primordial chaos. I am the king of the infinite. My body will form a brand, and I will use reality to tell you whether or not I am the most powerful king in this reincarnation cycle. In the middle of the raging fire, Jiang Li and the infinite were entangled. His life, his will, his radiance, his glory, and his great Tao all formed a contract. The contract appeared inside of him. The contract was the mark of the most powerful expert. As the fire burned, the karma left behind by the heavenly king of primordial beginnings bloodline was completely consumed and turned into nothingness. That was right. They were karmic ties. Ever since he had mastered the great Tao of the infinite, and developed the magical laws of the annulled, as well as the infinite bloodline, he and Yuanshir were no longer related by blood. Although the blood ties were gone, the karmic ties were still there. After all, Jiang Li was a human from Earth, a unique group of people that Yuanshi had created. It was a karmic ties that were very difficult to sever. Of all the favors and grudges in the world, the hardest thing to resolve was karmic ties. To sever karmic ties was incredibly difficult to the point of being virtually impossible. But now, Jiang Li had formed a contract with the infinite, using the profound secrets of the 129,600 cycles of reincarnation and the immense karmic ties of the infinite, to sever the minor karmic ties and burn them away. Rumble. As the maidservant looked on in shock, Jiang Li's Anima Destiny brand formed inside of him. It was the mark of the most powerful expert, the contract with the infinite. It was the mark of the most powerful expert in the 129,600 cycles of reincarnation, the mightiest, the most domineering, and the most ferocious. His fist techniques could sweep through anything and everything. His martial arts seemed to be capable of subverting the cycle of reincarnation. "I've formed the mark of the most powerful expert," Jiang Li said. "I am the most powerful expert in all of the cycles of reincarnation. I am the king of the most powerful experts, and I am the only one who can destroy the primal chaos." All the things that Yuanshi had left in his body were severed. From now on, he had nothing to do with Yuanshi. At the same time, his infinite great path enveloped the red dust realm, and all the karmic ties within it were severed, evolving into the infinite bloodlines. The limitless bloodlines were pure limitless bloodlines. They had nothing to do with the primordial heavenly king. Even the curse of the heavenly Father had been removed. However, those who had not broken the curse of the heavenly Father could not use the ability to devour the worlds, because they had lost the ability to devour the vital energy of the world. In the red dust realm, there were hundreds of trillions of earthlings, all of whom had the blood of Yuanshi. Only a small portion of them had broken the curse, and the rest were still sealed. Once the curse was broken, the worlds would collapse, and Jiang Li would not be able to control the situation. This was a hidden danger. But now, Jiang Li had made up his mind. While removing the curse of these people, he would erase their ability to devour the worlds, so that their wisdom would be profound, but they would still have to cultivate by themselves. This was also a method that Jiang Li had comprehended after killing the blood of Yuanshi. At this moment, in the red dust realm, it was raining cats and dogs. The heavy rain was not ordinary rain, but something similar to sweet dew. Nothing could stop it, and it could penetrate the entire world. This heavy rain was an infinite cleansing. It landed on the bodies of countless people with the blood of earthlings. No one knew what was happening. Many of the earthlings who had broken the curse and had the ability to devour the worlds immediately felt that they had lost the ability to devour the worlds when the heavy rain fell. However, they did not panic. Instead, they felt many truths from the depths of the heavy rain. It was the will of Jiang Li. So that's how it is, that's how it is. The higher-ups of the earthlings who had removed the curse nodded repeatedly. "We have the ability to devour the worlds. That was Yuanshi's plot. We crazily absorbed energy and caused the worlds to collapse. This is a deformed ability. We cannot have such an ability. Yes, we are all Yuanshi's pawns. But now, the infinite great path that we have cultivated has been released. The disappearance of this ability is not a tragedy, but a great release. We cannot bear so many fates. We finally feel relaxed like never before. It's very light. Not bad, not bad." In addition, all the earthlings had their karma severed. Their bodies were relaxed, and everyone's hearts seemed to have been relieved of a big stone. They were relaxed, happy, and free. From now on, they had truly obtained great freedom. This was the true meaning of infinity. Finally, our red dust realm has come to this step. Dream Kite, Hong Heiyu, and Luo Feng gathered many people and began to have a meeting. They looked at the changes in the red dust realm and knew that Jiang Li had begun to remove the curse. He was going to destroy the final threat. In reality, the greatest threat to the red dust realm was the trillions of humans on Earth. If the curse on them was released, it would be terrible. Not only would the infinite realms collapse, but even the red dust realm would be sucked dry. This was one of Yuanshir's methods. Even the Heavenly Father might have fallen into his trap. But now, Jiangli had dispelled the curse. The power of the curse had actually fused into the essence, causing the red dust world to grow even larger. In addition to that, everyone's power had been purified, and they now understood Heavenly King Primordial Beginning's plot. The primordial Heavenly King of Heaven had created these deformed people. Once the curse was broken, they would absorb the power of the myriad worlds, and the myriad worlds would collapse. Then, these people would become primordial worms, which would enter his body and revive him. He would become the most powerful expert in the cycle of reincarnation. Yuanshir was the primeval king. In reality, his name was similar to the strongest. I didn't expect Yuanshir to be so generous, Luofeng said. The earthlings he created were actually primeval insects that devoured worlds, but Jiangli removed it. Chapter 941. Yuanshir had wanted to turn all humans into worms of primordial beginning, but Jiangli had discovered it in time and cut off the transformation. From then on, all humans on Earth had the unlimited bloodline and were free. No one could pose a threat to the humans on Earth anymore. This was all thanks to Jiangli. He had used a great opportunity to cut off a small one. He had used the unlimited bloodline to cut off the primordial beginning bloodline, eliminating the crisis in the red dust realm. He had also destroyed Yuanshir's final trump card. From then on, the red dust realm had been peaceful for a long time. The last barrier between levels had been eliminated. In fact, humans on Earth had a rather high status in the red dust realm. As long as they broke the curse, they would have the noblest bloodline in the depths of the universe. They would rise to the heavens in a single step. Yen Kuxing, who had been possessed by the ascetic king, had hated this bloodline. That was why he had wanted to rebel. Deep down, many people had felt that it was unreasonable. This had always been a thorn in their side. Now that the thorn in their side had disappeared, the humans on Earth felt relieved. They knew that if they were to become worms of primordial beginning, they would be devoured by Yuanshir. Now that the thorn in their side had been removed, even though they had lost their abilities, the curse and bloodline had become great wisdom. In an instant, the red dust realm blossomed with boundless light. That light was the light of hope, the light of joy, and the light of freedom. Jiang Li's body had also received the true meaning of the red dust realm. That pure power and will had fused with him. The red dust realm was him, and he was the red dust realm. Suddenly, his combat power had greatly increased. Bang bang bang! In the depths of the void realm, heaven and earth were constantly wriggling and changing. The sun and moon were also changing, and yin and yang were intertwining. The infinite river shook and swept up many other rivers. First, the Slaughter River merged with the Infinite River, then the King Road River. The two rivers merged with the Infinite River, causing the Infinite River to become the #1 river, above the River of Fate. At the same time, it absorbed all the other rivers. He did not absorb the Marshall Path River. However, the Marshall Path River shook and automatically merged with the Infinite River. This was Ba Liming's will. Fuse with the Marshall Dao River. Ba Liming said, "Although I have transformed into the long river of the Marshall Path, I have transcended the long river of the Marshall Path. I am the incarnation of the Marshall Path. The Marshall Path is me, and I am the Marshall Path. From now on, as long as there is the Marshall Path, there will be me. I am everywhere, I am everywhere." Rumble. Ba Liming's will was completely lost in the long river of martial arts. Ba Liming left the long river of martial arts and entered a whole new realm. No one knew what he had comprehended or what path he had taken. Even Jiang Li did not know. However, what he said was right. Where there was martial Tao there would be him. Even if the world was destroyed and creatures were born again, there would still be martial Tao, and he would be there. He was such a miraculous existence. The river of martial arts, the river of massacre, and the river of monarchs all melted into the river of infinity. The river of infinity surpassed the river of destiny and hung in the void realm. It even began to permeate every corner of the physical realm. Everyone could sense this long river. As long as a creature sincerely communicated with it, they could obtain all spirituality and supreme cultivation, exchanging for power from the depths of the endless river. From then on, all living beings would no longer be bound by fate. Yuanshi, I'll let you know now what secrets are hidden in your treasure. I'll take this maid of yours and use her to calculate all your secrets. You've already made arrangements to turn all the humans on Earth into the worms of primeval beginning. Such evil intentions have actually violated our anti-human law. In that case, I won't go easy on you. Jiang Li's body rose and kept strangling toward the maid and the statue of Yuanshi. He knew that the maid had secrets, and so did Yuanshi. If he could capture the statue, he would be able to completely obtain some of the things inside, which would be of great help to him in seizing the treasure. Now, his strength had increased again. The endless river hung in the void, transcending fate and devouring everything. The secular realm had resolved the last hidden danger, and he had condensed the mark of the strongest. This series of power enhancements had almost doubled his strength. He was now firmly above the ascetic king and the yoga king. Moreover, with his cultivation, the ascetic king and the yoga king basically had no chance of resisting him. He had suppressed all of them and used them for himself. His strength had surpassed the strongest of the samsara realm. In fact, he could even become the king of the strongest in the 129,600 samsara cycles. At the moment, there were only two biggest enemies. One was Yuanshi and the other was chaos. Once Yuanshi was eliminated, he could go one step further against chaos. If he did not eliminate this person and obtain his power, it was very likely that he would achieve nothing. His body strangled with infinite power. Even though the maid was protected by the statue of Yuanshi, she could not withstand it at all. The defense in front of her collapsed inch by inch, and she was about to fall into the hands of Jiang Li. Your Excellency Yuanshi. The maid had a resolute look on her face. There was no trace of fear on her face. I think it's time to let this man know how powerful he is. If you let him go on like this, things will gradually get out of your control. As you wish. Buzz, the statue of Yuanshi, let out a voice that sounded like a great bell. It seemed that the last of its divine power was about to be activated. Poor man, my descendant, you have cut off the karma between you and me, which means that we have become strangers. I can no longer protect you. In the past, the reason why you have grown to where you are now is because I have been protecting and cultivating you step by step. Even now, although you can break away from my karma, in fact, you are still under my control. In your body there is still the key to my treasure. Your dream is the secular world, where everyone can obtain great freedom. Then I will fulfill your wish. Open the treasure. All the treasures will be ejected from the depths of the treasure. Everyone can have endless adventures. My treasure is not my own treasure, but the accumulation of 129,600 times in the depths of the chaos. Once it is opened, the world will become a new world, and the material realm will not be the original material realm. See for yourself what secrets are hidden in the depths of the chaos. Your secular world will eventually disintegrate. This was the voice of Yuanshi. Rumble. Suddenly, Jiang Li felt that a hidden power in his body was aroused by Yuanshi's voice and will. That was the treasure key. Although he had refined it, there was still something left behind. Yuanshi was not someone to be trifled with. Although Jiang Li had repeatedly escaped from his schemes, he still plotted against Jiang Li at the most critical time. Jiang Li, my descendant, Many thanks to you for storing the treasure key in your body. You used your own godly energy to nourish the key, allowing it to have the ability to open the treasure. I've helped you step by step. From the moment you obtained the Grand Emperor's relic on Earth, you were already my chosen one. I've already calculated that the boundless Great Tao would fall on your body, and I've also calculated that the boundless Great Tao would nourish the treasure key. With the nourishment of the boundless Great Tao, the treasure key would eventually open a gap in the core of the primal chaos, allowing the treasure to succeed. Now open the treasure! Yuanshir's voice was getting louder and louder. The entire world, the physical world, and even the void, every living being, every corner, and even the underworld in the depths of the red dust realm were clear. It turned out that the treasure was not Yuanshir's treasure, but the accumulation of chaos that he had excavated. Even he could not open the secret treasure in the depths of chaos, so he calculated a series of things. He calculated that in the last cycle of reincarnation, the most powerful thing would appear, and that was the infinite Great Tao that could melt the core. Therefore, all the schemes such as the Great Emperor's relic were arranged by him. From a certain point of view, at this moment Yuanshir had won. He had successfully activated the key in Jiang Li's body. Not good. The moment Jiang Li felt his body move, he knew that he had lost this round of fighting. He had severed the karma, causing himself and the humans on Earth to escape from Yuanshir's control. He had won that round of fighting, but then Yuanshir had turned the tables. In this way, the two of them had fought to a draw. Jiang Li felt that he had clearly refined the key, but in the blink of an eye, it had flown out. It seemed that he had not completely understood Yuanshir's secret. He knew that the moment the key flew out, the power of heaven and earth had changed. The world was no longer the world it had been before, and he had completely lost control of the situation. The chaotic world, the end of the world, the turbulent years, had once again arrived. When Yuanshir's treasure was opened, countless treasures flew out. It was unknown how many people in the world would become emperors, and how many would become kings. Thinking about it, the mark of the ascetic king fell into Yen Kuxing's body, immediately giving him the idea of dominating the world and exterminating everyone. Almost everyone had the same idea. When people suddenly gained power, they would not be able to control the inner demons brought about by that power. Jiang Li knew that power was the inner demon. There were demons everywhere in the world. Power demons were the most terrifying. When people could not control their own power, they would go crazy and destroy themselves. In the end, they would destroy themselves and the world. Buzz, the key flew out of his body, and he could not stop it in time. The key flew into the physical world and landed on the spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy in the third dimension. That was where the solar system was. The myriad worlds celestial sphere was there. The key directly entered the myriad worlds celestial sphere. There was no sound. But the next moment, the myriad worlds celestial sphere exploded. It formed a giant Dahe cave. All the worlds shook, and endless Dharma treasures and vital energy spewed out of it. No one could stop it. The world had changed. A new era had begun. Chapter 942. The myriad treasures river shook violently. It seemed to be nourished by the boundless energy of treasures. It expanded, 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 and expanded. Although it still couldn't compare to the boundless river, it was close to the river of destiny. This was the moment when Yuanshir's treasury opened. The energy of treasures had poured in, and the myriad treasures river had grown many times stronger. Jiang Li's boundless river had been about to devour the myriad treasures river, but now that it had grown so strong, it was impossible for Jiang Li to devour it unless his cultivation base rose again. Treasures, vital energy, ancient secret arts. There were even martial Tao experiences and wills from countless reincarnations spewing out of the black hole formed by the myriad worlds' celestial orb. The depths of the black hole were white. Black and white intersected, flowing with each other. That was the true Taiji. This is getting out of hand. Jiang Li's heart sank. He knew he couldn't stop the power of the treasures. In the blink of an eye, countless treasures were scattered across the myriad heavens. A new era had begun. Jiang Li could even see the physical world expanding. He could not even recognize it. Endless amounts of vital energy sprayed out, turning into all sorts of worlds. All sorts of space-time dimensions appeared. Universes appeared. He even saw worlds bigger than the celestial world appear. Time became chaotic. In some worlds, time flowed faster, in others it slowed down. Between heaven and earth, time wasn't uniform. These worlds weren't the ones Jiang Li knew. He was powerless to stop what was happening. The female attendant and primordial heavenly king's statue disappeared at this moment. It was as if they had entered the depths of the treasure trove. The power that surged out from the treasure trove was unstoppable. Even Jiang Li was helpless against it. Whoosh! He returned to the worldly mortal realm. By this time, the entire worldly mortal realm was in chaos. All of the masters could feel the world writhing and changing. The space-time they were in was being squeezed back and forth by countless forces, on the verge of shattering at any moment. Fortunately, the primordial gold core was shining with boundless light, unleashing a boundless devouring power that increased the energy reserves of the worldly mortal realm. Moreover, the primordial chaos golden core was still devouring the Dharma treasures that were shot out. This time, when Yuanshir's treasury was opened, countless treasures rushed out. All of them were pre-celestial chaos divine weapons, and there were even humanoid magical treasures that exploded and scattered into the depths of the myriad worlds. Many magical treasures rushed towards the mortal realm. However, the celestial red dust realm was protected by the primordial golden core's power. With a slight sweep, the treasures that were rushing towards him were collected and stored in the depths of another space. However, this sweep of magic treasures was only a drop in the bucket. There were even more magic treasures scattered everywhere, and it was unknown how many experts would be killed. Everyone in the red dust realm, silence. Jiang Li's voice sounded out, suppressing everyone present. Now that the heavens and earth are changing, everyone must be in their positions. Don't be swayed by the magic treasures. Everyone must work together and be of one heart. Everyone, pray together and pour your energy into the chip. Only by using all the power of the mortal realm will you be able to obtain more magic treasures. We will distribute them freely in the future. Right now, magical treasures were flying everywhere, and countless powerful figures were getting restless. They wanted to go out and steal the magical treasures. As a result, order was thrown into chaos. This was especially true of the red dust realm, where countless ambitious people had obtained magical treasures. Their arrogance swelled, and they immediately wanted to seize power. It should be known that the treasures that shot out from the depths of Yuanshir's treasury were not simple divine weapons. Even the lowest level of treasures were similar to the 5 emperors and 5 emperors' emperor-level divine weapons. There was no telling how strong the strongest of them would be. In fact, magical treasures like the undying magic lamp and the good fortune jade disc might even fly out in the future. This was not Heavenly King Primordial Beginning's treasure trove, but something that had been accumulated in the 129,600 cycles of reincarnation in the depths of the primordial chaos. It was unknown how Heavenly King Primordial Beginning had managed to open it, or how he had unearthed it. Of course, this was the last reincarnation cycle, and everyone was going all out. Even primal chaos itself was going all out, so it wouldn't be surprising if something like this happened. Vast amounts of vital energy flowed out, not primal chaos palea energy, but rather refined quintessence. Some of it was green, similar to the essence of wood. As soon as it touched the impure energy of the material world, it transformed into a green universe filled with world trees, as well as strange pre-heaven medicinal ingredients. In addition, there were energy flows that resembled the essence of metal, the essence of fire, the essence of earth, and the essence of water. These things shot out in all directions within the heavens. In the end, Zhongli couldn't even see what the heavens had evolved into. God Infinity I. Because of his suppression, the mortal realm didn't stir. Instead, everyone was united, and began to pray as they poured their power into the God Infinity I. Sure enough, the unity of the masses was much stronger than fighting alone. Jiang Li's primordial chaos gold core, as well as the clones of the King of Asceticism and the King of Yoga, all three of them were working together to form the primordial chaos gold core. The primordial chaos gold core was growing stronger and stronger. Primordial chaos gold core, infinity gold core. Jiang Li, the King of Asceticism, and the King of Yoga spoke in unison. All of the magical treasures we collect will be fused into the depths of the primordial chaos gold core, transforming it into infinity gold core. The computing power of the gold core will be increased, and then distributed evenly into everyone's microchip. Everyone worked together to collect Dharma treasures and essence chi to upgrade the primordial golden core, making the golden core stronger and turning it into an infinite golden core. Then, the golden core would produce endless profoundness and wealth, which would be distributed. According to everyone's contribution, the wealth would be distributed into their chip. That was the most efficient method. If everyone was fighting over wealth and magical treasures, it would lead to chaos, and would weaken the overall fighting prowess. Then, if an enemy invaded, they would collapse. Jiang Li, it's a good thing you refined the King of Asceticism and the King of Yoga into your outer body incarnations. If you hadn't, you wouldn't have been able to withstand the onslaught. The entire world would have changed. Luo Feng was also using her own power to bitterly hold on. In her eyes, she could see that the outside world was in chaos, and the red dust realm had become the only pure land, resisting the energy storms. Moreover, it was continuously expanding. If the celestial red dust realm collapsed, the consequences would be too horrible to contemplate. I didn't find any valuable magic treasures. Hong Heiyu was in charge of the Hades, preventing any disturbances. The Hades had just absorbed the demon world, and some of the demon emperors didn't really agree with the celestial red dust realm. They were all restless, but Hong Heiyu's power spread throughout the Hades, and the demon emperors with ill intentions realized that if they rebelled now, they would die. We just collected a few thousand magical treasures. They're all emperor-level treasures. The real treasures probably haven't appeared yet. That's right. If my guess is correct, this is just a change that occurred the moment the treasure was opened. The accumulated vital energy surged out and changed the world. Some of the weaker magical treasures were swept out by the vital energy. The real treasures have their own spirituality, and they can withstand the waves of vital energy. The infinite God I appeared on Jiang Li's forehead, and he observed the chaotic material world. The material world was now completely different from before. Countless universes had been born, and countless living beings had appeared. Space-time turbulence was extremely violent in some places, and gentle in others. It was a brand new world, and a brand new change. The storm gradually subsided, and the energy no longer swept out. The red dust realm had finally stabilized. The primordial golden elixir had transformed into an infinite golden elixir. It had an endless amount of divine power. This time, the red dust realm had gained many benefits. Jiang Li calculated that it would definitely be more than what he had gained in the other universes. Shoo! Dream Kite finally let out a sigh of relief. Finally, the storm has stabilized. I thought this was the end of the world, and the chaos had begun to destroy the world. If the chaos destroyed the world early, then we were not prepared. The 3D universe has disappeared. Suddenly, Luo Feng noticed a problem, and he was shocked. Jiang Li hurriedly looked over. Indeed, the new material realm had expanded countless times. He couldn't see the end of it, but he could definitely feel the three-dimensional universe. But now, the three-dimensional universe had disappeared, as though it had disintegrated in this storm. And in the place where the three-dimensional universe was, a huge black and white cave was circulating. There was still the aura of the myriad worlds on it, and the black and white inside were distorted. It was unknown where it led to, but the aura of the treasure came from it, and it tempted people to go in and explore. The 3D universe has indeed disappeared, but I don't think things are so simple. Jiang Li said, the immortal tower and the brain of the universe have disappeared, and even Wang Chao's aura has disappeared. But the 3D universe's fate is definitely not dead. You see where Otherworld is, and there is also the righteous heaven realm, the dragon realm, and the martial realm. I can't seem to see them. Dream Kite also looked out. She could only see the densely packed universe. It was as if it had returned to ancient times. She could not see through the material world. It was like she was in the depths of a dense forest, and she could not see what was outside. Jiang Li was the same. The material world was much bigger, and he could not see through it. He could not understand how complicated it was. I see Otherworld. It has come to the material world. The righteous heaven realm is also expanding. Other than that, the dragon realm and the martial realm have completely merged. The strongest warriors, Jiang Nalan and the others, seem to have had a miraculous encounter. They are not here, and they have all entered Yuanshir's treasure. Jiang Li tried his best to look around, and a lot of information came back to him. In the depths of Yuanshir's treasure, there are countless treasures, as well as the 4 scrolls of the indestructible scripture that you need. Other than that, there is also the mark of the strongest warrior. We must not let those people get it. Hong Heiyu was shocked. Chapter 943. The structure of the myriad worlds had changed. The 3 universes had disappeared, and the Yuanshir treasury had appeared. Powerful beings were being born. At this moment, the situation was unprecedentedly complicated. Jiang Li could even sense that the number of emissaries of annihilation had increased. Destructive auras rippled through the heavens, and there were many powerful, unknown existences lurking in the depths. The mortal realm had originally dominated the world, and could gradually devour Permitha, Fate, Dragon, Martial, and Justice realms. But things were different now. Countless powerful worlds had been born, and the material world was no longer the same. There were many great universes that were even larger than the immortal world. Inside, time flowed faster, and powerful existences were born. Even kings of annihilation had appeared. The mortal realm was no longer number 1. Furthermore, it was like a defenseless child walking through a dangerous forest, in danger of being attacked by beasts at any moment. I can sense that the final 4 scrolls of the Deathless Sutra are still in the depths of the treasure trove, so I'll have to go search for them. However, there's no need for the 2 of you to go. Furthermore, I'm not going to take the King of Asceticism and the King of Yoga with me. I'm going to explore the core of primal chaos on my own, and see what secrets lie there. Your current mission is very simple. Develop, grow, and absorb more and more universes. Eventually, you'll have to make the red dust heaven the number 1 universe in existence. Jiang Li knew that although the situation had changed, it was also an opportunity. The material world had expanded, and there were more resources for the mortal realm to absorb. More experts would be born, and the infinite great Tao would be able to expand to its limit. That would give it even more power to fight against the primal chaos. We'll do well, Dreamkite said. We can stop the invasion of the emissaries of annihilation. Plus, the primordial gold core has evolved into an infinite gold core. Combined with the infinite river, we can basically stop everything. Right now, Dreamkite was the most authoritative of the 3 heavyweights. She was in charge of the human world, and had split the work with Luofeng. The human world was in charge. My cultivation is not high enough. Jiang Li looked into the distance. The infinite great Tao hasn't reached its limit at all. No, it should be said that the infinite great Tao has no limit at all. Now I have only cultivated 101 nomological laws. In fact, there are still 102,103 more. The infinite great Tao is always improving, breaking through one limit after another. 101 is not the end. Indeed. Luo Feng said, however, I feel that your Yoga King and Ascetic King are very dangerous. They haven't been refined by you at all. Instead, they are being controlled and bewitched by you. They will wake up sooner or later. If they wake up and start a massacre in the mortal realm, we won't be able to stop them at all. It's better if you take these two puppets with you. I'm afraid it won't work even if I take them with me. The power here won't be able to suppress the changes in the myriad world. Hong Heiyu was a little worried. I'm going to Yuanshir's treasure now to find a way to refine the Ascetic King and Yoga King. I know that this method is very difficult to find, but I have to do it. I can't abandon these imprints. I can only temporarily suppress them and make them work for me. I think that the chaos is actually as distressed as I am, because it can't destroy the imprints of the strongest expert. It can only keep suppressing them. It's even afraid that they will come back alive and fight against itself. It's hard to get off the tiger, and it's hard to advance or retreat. Jiang Li sighed. Now I finally understand the helplessness of the chaos. Indeed, now that Jiang Li had obtained the imprints of the Ascetic King and Yoga King, he couldn't give them up, nor could he not give them up. If he gave them up, these two imprints would very likely attach themselves to someone else. At that time, they would become enemies of the human realm. However, if he didn't give them up and stayed here, although he could do a lot of things, he was also a ticking time bomb. He didn't know when he could no longer suppress them. If his consciousness awakened and suddenly exploded, the entire human realm would suffer a great disaster. He couldn't give them up, nor could he not give them up. What should he do? Therefore, he had to find a way to refine these imprints. Moreover, the same imprints had appeared in Jiang Li's body. They were formed by his own cultivation. If he wanted to improve his cultivation, he had to break the imprints and break his own shackles. Therefore, it was necessary to destroy the strongest expert. Can you suppress them now? Dreamkite asked. I can suppress them for the time being. I'm just afraid that something terrible will fly out from the depths of the primeval's treasure. Jiang Li said, I'm not sure about this. If I keep them with me at all times, I can use my supreme spirit to infuse them into their bodies at all times. But if I leave, it's hard to say. Then take them with you. Although I've lost two supreme battle powers, it doesn't matter. Dreamkite said, the changes of the myriad realms are our battlefield. We can get the deepest level of training. It's not a good thing to always be under your protection. Yes, I agree with that. Hong Heiyu looked at the changes of the myriad realms. To be precise, they were no longer in the myriad realms. They were in an unfamiliar physical realm. All right, I'll take the Ascetic King and the Yoga King with me. This way, I can go to the depths of the Yuanshir's treasure and deal with the sudden changes. After all, there might be 129,600 kings inside. Jiang Li's body moved. Instantly, the Ascetic King and the Yoga King transformed into two streams of vital energy. One was grayish-white, while the other was faintly red. Both of them revolved around Jiang Li's body like clouds. He flew up and took a step forward. He arrived in front of the black and white cave of the primeval's treasure. At this moment, the black and white cave had become the center of the new physical realm. Moreover, it was the highest point of the physical realm and also the most central point. Standing there, Jiang Li seemed to be able to see the entire physical realm. He even felt as if he was looking down on all the mountains. However, in the depths of the black and white cave, the strongest force field was faintly emitted. It did not allow anyone to profane it. Anyone who wanted to get close would be shattered by the force field. This force was the power of the vortex. Black and white circulated, reversing yin and yang. Jiang Li got slightly closer to the edge of the black and white cave. He felt that time and space were rotating at an extremely high speed. It could shatter great emperors, and even those who surpassed great emperors would be injured. The black and white cave was not big. It was only the size of the original solar system. However, its power was much greater than any universe. Jiang Li had not entered the inside of the cave. He was just lingering at the edge. It was like he was outside the solar system. Suddenly, he stepped into the range of the force field of the cave. Immediately, the force field began to strangle his body. Hum, 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 his body emitted an endless amount of sparks. It was many times more violent than the friction and collisions between planets. This force field could practically annihilate all living things. As expected, it's very strong. Jiang Li's body trembled, producing an opposite force field. It began to counteract the rotating force field. He felt that it was difficult for him to move forward. However, the force field here was far from being able to hurt him. It could only cause him some trouble. He had already refined the mark of the strongest expert. The mark itself was indestructible, undying, immortal, and unaffected by the corrosion of time. The force field here could actually cause trouble for him. Even an existence surpassing the great monarch realm wouldn't be able to withstand it. If something went wrong, without the protection of a magical treasure like the immortal magic lamp, it was highly possible that he would die. His entire body was solemn. He took each step carefully and suddenly punched out. Rumble! Light flashed. The infinite god fist forcefully smashed open a path. His body shuttled back and forth, moving deeper into the black and white cave. After an unknown period of time, the world was still black and white. So powerful! The force field here is like a furnace that can crush everything. I wonder how Wan Qianxiu and the others came in. Oh right, when I released my vital energy just now, the force here seemed to weaken. I can enter. Jiang Li calculated and knew that when he suppressed the red dust realm, swept in all kinds of vital energy, and refined the primordial golden core into the infinite golden core, Wan Qianxiu, Jiang Nailan, and the others took this opportunity to enter the depths of the treasure. The force field wasn't strong, so they could pass. Now that he had missed the opportunity, he could only forcefully open a path. Kill! Jiang Li roared again. The ascetic king and yoga king appeared on his body. His fist technique continued to strike. The infinite divine fist seemed to have unleashed its strongest power. Every strike contained boundless power. Finally, at the last moment, the force field was smashed. His feet were on the ground. He entered the depths of the treasure. The myriad world's celestial sphere had disappeared, and in its place was the treasure. Jiang Li felt a little melancholy. After all, Earth was the world he was born in. Now that it was gone, it would disappear forever. Although he could also create the myriad world's celestial sphere with his cultivation base, things were still the same, but people had changed. The current Earth wasn't the Earth of the past, so what was the point? Even if he had the supreme divine power to reverse time and come back, his mentality was no longer the same as it was in the past. What disappeared was gone, and it would never come back. Infinity meant that one had to keep moving forward. There was no end to it, and there was no way back. Is this the primordial heavenly king's treasure? Or am I already in the chaos? Jiang Li's feet were on the ground, and he found that he had actually come to something that seemed to be another physical world. In front of him, there was a huge world. The world expanded infinitely, and at the top of the world there was chaos. Under his feet there was also chaos. This was the inner part of the chaos, a hollow place. This was the core of the chaos. He stomped hard, and the chaos on the ground was actually indestructible. The chaos turned into the hardest rock, protected by endless divine power, and connected to the origin of chaos. Jiang Li didn't want to move too much and cause any changes. He looked around and saw continuous mountains, rivers, and forests. It didn't look like a treasure at all. Of course, in addition to this, there were tall temples and decaying ruins. It seemed that someone had built something here. Could there have been living creatures in the core of the chaos? I feel that there are things here that can't be destroyed even after many reincarnations. To be precise, this is a paradise. Even if the outside world is destroyed, this place won't be destroyed. There is no reincarnation here. In other words, as long as you come here, you can survive from the first reincarnation until now. 29,600 reincarnations. Jiangli suddenly thought of this and became nervous. Chapter 944. This was the core of the chaos and could not be reincarnated. Humans could live here forever without any tribulations. The space here was even larger than the material plane. It was almost truly endless. It could be said that this was the real world, while the material plane outside was just a testing ground. It was just a laboratory that chaos used to experiment on. The moment Jiangli stepped into the core of the chaos, he had this feeling. This feeling became clearer and clearer. It was just like how there were laboratories on Earth. The Sun and Moon Corporation used to do human experiments. They occupied a planet and let people develop there. The people on the planet did not know about the outside world at all. They thought that they were the center of the world, but in reality they were just test subjects. In fact, weren't the people on Earth also test subjects? Earth was a laboratory. The Milky Way was also a laboratory. The three-dimensional universe was even more so. Even the entire physical world was the same. He wondered if this mass of chaos was someone else's laboratory. The depths of this core of primal chaos are filled with treasures. It's even bigger than the material plane. Moreover, I can sense that there's an aura of decay here. After experiencing so many cycles of reincarnation, wind and rain, the essence of primal chaos has completely disappeared. This might be the time when primal chaos is at its weakest. Jiangli secretly observed and did not act blindly without thinking. Every reincarnation produced the strongest person. The strongest person's imprint was actually the essence produced by the chaos. Therefore, after each reincarnation, the chaos would weaken a bit. But in the last reincarnation, if he took back all the essence and crushed it, he would be able to step into a whole new realm. Rumble! All of a sudden, a terrifying aura emanated from the depths of space. In front of Jiangli, the space in front of him split apart as a terrifying gigantic hand grabbed out. The heavens and earth continuously changed. This gigantic hand was pitch black and filled with power and cruelty. There were dense scales on it, and it didn't seem like a human's. However, its might was enough to destroy everything. Jiang Li's eyebrows twitched, and he retaliated with a punch. His infinite godly fist ruthlessly struck the center of that huge hand. The hand exploded and the scales fell off. The fist force blasted into the depths of the space, causing it to collapse and explode, revealing the body of the attacker. The ambusher was a creature covered in scales. Its upper body was that of a human, and its lower body was that of a snake. However, an ancient aura emanated from its body, and it seemed to emit the aura of an ancient god. This should be a creature born and raised in the depths of the core of chaos. His cultivation was even higher than a great emperor. Unfortunately, he was still no match for Jiangli. The monster let out a shrill cry, and its entire body swam away, hiding in the depths of the void. To it, the void was like water, and it seemed to have completely merged with the environment. Jiangli didn't chase after it because he wasn't familiar with the environment here. As the saying goes, don't chase a cornered enemy. Besides, even if he killed this creature, he wouldn't get any benefit. His top priority was to find something valuable here. He began to observe again. However, the space behind him silently split open again, and a spotlessly white and flawless palm that seemed to be formed purely from light appeared. With a light press, it arrived behind him and began to bombard him. Bang! The protective Gang Qi around Jiangli trembled, turning into a vortex that automatically defended him. At his level, it was extremely difficult to launch a sneak attack. However, the jade-white hand moved slightly, and the aura of the strongest seeped out from the palm. It was actually the strongest cultivator of samsara, and the mystique was the strongest cultivator's martial arts. King of Light. The aura that came from many reincarnations poured out and bombarded Jiang Li once again. This was the aura of the strongest cultivator, the King of Light. However, there was also the aura of the Heavenly Father. It was a sneak attack from someone familiar. It wasn't the King of Light, because he had already died and turned into a mark. Only someone with great luck could be possessed by the mark and obtain his power. It wasn't the Heavenly Father. The Heavenly Father was also the embodiment of light, but now he had fused with the King of Light and was devoured by someone. Someone had fused the power of the Heavenly Father and the King of Light, and had almost invincible mystiques and abilities. There was only one person, and that was the bloodline of the Jiang family, Jiang Nalan. Jiang Nalan, you actually obtained the mark of the strongest cultivator, and fused with the King of Light. You even borrowed the power of the King of Light to suppress the aura of the Heavenly Father in your body, devoured his soul, and obtained the Book of Faith. Not bad, but it's still too early for you to deal with me. Jiang Li suddenly turned around. He bombarded the air with his infinite divine fist. Everywhere the fist energy passed, space collapsed, and everything disintegrated inch by inch. Suddenly, the figure of the sneak attacker appeared again. Who else could it be but Jiang Nalan? Jiang Nalan's temperament was completely different now. His tall hat and coat were ancient and profound. He was no longer crazy, but tranquil and distant, as if he could reach the end of the world. He stood there quietly, his arms and palms hidden in his sleeves. His entire body was at the peak of its power, surrounded by light. He was the true embodiment of light, fused with the mark of the strongest cultivator, the King of Light, and devoured the Heavenly Father to obtain the invincible heavenly Tao of loneliness. Jiang Li, even in your dreams, you never imagined that I would come this far, right? I knew I wasn't simple. You said that I was a pawn of the Heavenly Father, and that the moment the Yuanshi treasury was opened, I would be possessed by the Heavenly Father. But you're wrong. I've already devoured the Heavenly Father, and even the Book of Faith is mine. You probably don't know this, but the Heavenly Father is actually a manifestation of the things the King of Faith left behind. The Book of Faith contains the mark of the King of Faith, and right now, I have both the power of the King of Faith and the King of Light. Jiang Nalan didn't launch any sudden attacks on Jiang Li. You're wrong, Jiang Li said. Jiang Nalan, do you think you've devoured the Heavenly Father? In fact, he's borrowing and using you. Some of his life essence is still in your body, ready to seize your body and reincarnate at any time. You won't be able to suppress it. Furthermore, even if you obtain the imprints of the King of Faith and the King of Light, you still won't be my match. That's because in the 129,600 cycles of reincarnation, the strongest expert is the person in the last cycle. That person is me, and I can rule over all the strongest experts. You really have no sense of shame. Jiang Nalan didn't seem the least bit moved, nor did he act hysterically. Instead, a manifestation of all living things appeared on his forehead, seemingly giving him their faith. In this cycle of reincarnation, the strongest person should be me. Your boundless great Tao is nothing more than child's play. I can destroy it with a flip of my hand. Just wait until I create my endless river, then I'll be able to drown your boundless river. Oh? I'd like to see that. Jiang Li didn't make a move. Your companions come out. Wan Qianxiu, Xianyuanbian, and the strongest, Crown Prince de Meng. He noticed that the people around him were entrenched, and the void distorted as they approached. Whoosh, 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 Wan Qianxiu appeared. He had the aura of the strongest, the mark of the King of Solitude. Xianyuanbian also appeared. He had the aura of the King of Transcendence. Crown Prince Demeng also appeared, and he had the mark of the King of Clam Kings. The aura of the strongest was as sharp as a sword, capable of ripping through everything. It was the aura of the King of Ripping. Jiang Li didn't find it strange. He knew that these people could all obtain the marks of the strongest because they were people of great fortune. Being able to survive until now and stand at the peak of the world meant that they could definitely obtain the marks of the strongest. It was even possible that the marks would automatically fly to their bodies and borrow their fortune to seize their bodies and be reborn. Jiang Li had come here to find the marks of the 6 kings. The King of Epochs, the King of Power, the King of Hope, the King of Mystic, the King of Firmament, and the King of Spacetime. These 6 kings were different from the King of Asceticism and the King of Yoga. That was because the 6 kings had approved of his ideals and wanted to help him achieve great things. Therefore, they wouldn't clash with him and would only follow him closely. In fact, Jiang Li had actually come here to convince all the kings to join forces and support him. They would work together to usher in a new era. Jiang Li, you've finally reached this step? Wan Qianxiu pressed forward. He had the aura of solitude on him. The King of Solitude was extremely tyrannical, and his fate was one of solitude. Before the treasure trove was opened, you forced us into a corner, said Xianyuanbian. We were almost captured and refined by you, but the plans of man are no match for the plans of the heavens. The moment the treasure trove opened, you started going downhill. Jiang Li, no matter how strong you are, you can't calculate the primordial chaos. That's not necessarily true. Li Hansha laughed out loud when he saw these people closing in on him. Everyone, it looks like you want to kill me? But do you really think you can escape reincarnation by killing me? Kill you and seize your boundless great Tao. Our strength will increase once more. The strongest warrior stepped forward, his eyes ferocious like a hungry tiger catching a sheep. Jiang Li, what else do you have to say for yourself? Great Dream Crown Prince said, back then, when we fought in the celestial world, it was all smoke and smoke. What a joke. However, I'll engrave these grievances in my heart. Today you must die. If you don't die, I won't be able to untie the knot in my heart. After you die, I'll take over the red dust world, snatch Luo Feng, and ravage her. Everyone, set up the formation. We obtained the King of Kings formation, and now we all have king marks on us. I have 2, and all of you have 1. That makes 6 marks. The King of Kings has 6 kings, and they are extremely powerful. We can completely suppress him. Moreover, we can also break the seals on the 2 kings next to him. The Ascetic King and the Yoga King are just bewitched. Once they recover, they'll be able to kill Jiang Li. Jiang Nalan had become the leader. He spread his fingers, and instantly, many streams of king energy appeared in the air. The formation started to be set up. Chapter 945. The 5 of them besieged Jiang Li, and it was incredibly dangerous. Wan Qianxiu, Xianyuanbian, the strongest martial artist, Crown Prince Great Dream, and Jiang Nalan had also formed a formation. This was the secret King of Kings formation, and no one knew where they had obtained it. This was simply a grand formation of the highest secret. After all, the King of Kings represented the gathering of all of the kings in the reincarnation cycle. It seemed that apart from obtaining the most powerful person's mark, these 5 people had also obtained other fortuitous encounters, causing their strength to explode. This small team of 5 had the power to flip the heavens and the earth. The formation was set up, and ghosts cried and gods howled. In an instant, it trapped Jiang Li within. A total of 6 kings unleashed their might. King of Faith, King of Light, King of Mirage, King of Loneliness, King of Transcendence, and King of Ripping. The 6 kings gathered together to form a formation. Even though it was far from being able to unleash the King of Kings formation's profundities, it was much more powerful than a single attack from the six kings. At the very least, there had never been such a powerful formation or attack in history. This sort of thing could only appear in the last reincarnation cycle. This was because in the last reincarnation cycle, the power of all creatures would surpass that of any reincarnation cycle, and experts that had never appeared before would appear. The King of Kings would appear here. According to logic, the king of the strongest should be Zhongli, but it was still unclear. It seemed like the primordial heavenly king was also a candidate. If the two of them fought, they would have the chance to obtain the king of the strongest, change the primal chaos, and obtain the ultimate eternal life. Of course, right now, Jiang Nailan was also vainly thinking of fighting for the title of the strongest king, because he himself had devoured the Heavenly Father, and the Heavenly Father himself was competing with the primordial Heavenly King. In the depths of his heart, he believed that although Jiang Li had successfully cultivated the infinite great Tao and surpassed fate, in reality, he had only picked up the Emperor's throne. As long as he seized the infinite great Tao, it would be equivalent to seizing the Emperor's throne and becoming an invincible sovereign. The six kings worked together to crush down on Jiang Li, making it hard for him to even move. He felt as if he were on the brink of death. What was even more dangerous was that within the depths of the magic formation there was the most powerful king's power. The ascetic king's mark and the yoga king's mark were no longer effective, and it was as if the two kings wanted to break free from his control and kill him. This was the backlash from the mark, and it was caused by the King of Kings' great formation. The King of Kings formation was a unique formation that had existed since ancient times, and it was created for kings. Every time a king appeared, the power of the formation would increase by a bit. Such divine power was unfathomable. Jiang Li, prepare to die. The King of Kings formation is not a formation created by humans, nor is it a formation created by any major figure. Instead, it is a formation that the primal chaos poured its blood, sweat, and tears into to refine the King of Kings mark. We obtained the true essence of this formation by chance, and your ascetic king and yoga king will become a part of my formation. Jiang Nailan's expression was incredibly arrogant and domineering. He had no one in his eyes, and he looked down on all the heroes in the world. In his eyes, Jiang Li was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Originally, we were preparing to use the King of Kings grand formation in your red dust world. Jiang Nailan continued. At that time, the ascetic king and yoga king would have rebelled and killed countless people in your mortal world so that I could vent my anger. But you brought these two strongest experts out, causing my plan to fail. But this is good, very good. I can suppress you now, but this time, I won't let you die. I'll make you my slave. I'll make you kneel at my feet and endure my humiliation. I'll make all your women mine. I'll ravage them, and I'll trample on you, humiliate you, and make you wish you were dead. These words were spoken with bone-deep hatred. Even if he wanted to tear Jiang Li to pieces, he wouldn't be able to relieve the hatred in his heart. Kill. When he said the last word, the word die, the atmosphere reached its peak. It was as if all the hatred, anger, humiliation, grievance, and all the other negative emotions in his heart were exploding. His anger condensed into a fist. The fist exploded in the air as it shot forward. Rumble. When the formation was activated, he was at the center of the formation. He was the King of Kings, the most powerful of the most powerful. Jiang Nailan's fist seemed to be venting all of his anger. He gathered all of his power together, and the fist techniques of the six kings spun within him. He wanted to suppress Jiang Li, completely shatter him, and make sure that Jiang Li would never be able to reincarnate. The fist grew larger, and the 6 worlds of reincarnation appeared at the tip. The fist unleashed 6 Daos, and all of the storms of the 6 worlds of reincarnation gathered at one point. You want to kill me? Do you think it's that easy? Jiang Li's eyes flickered with sharpness as he spun, combining with the vortex power of the primal chaos core. Boundless vortex. Bloodline. As he spun, he dodged the fist technique. Blood sprayed onto the ascetic king and yoga king, and the two restless kings were instantly sealed. His body was like a drill, and he suddenly drilled into the ground, disappearing. He left this place. In the depths of the primal chaos core, everything was wrapped in primal chaos. The primal chaos turned into incomparably hard rocks that were basically unbreakable. However, Zhongli used the boundless edge to drill down, and no one knew where he went. The moment he drilled down, the primal chaos healed, and it was even harder than before. The power of the formation and Jiang Nalan's fist technique bombarded the ground, creating holes, but they couldn't hit Jiang Li's body at all. Soon after, the potholes also returned to normal, as if nothing had happened here. Damn it, he escaped. Great Dream Crown Prince raged. Don't worry. He can't escape from us. Although Jiang Nalan wasn't willing, she calmed down. He failed. In the past, we were always the ones fleeing, but now he's gone without a trace. That means his destiny is declining. This person's destiny has always been invincible, and he's at the peak of his bravery. But now that the treasure trove has opened, and we've all obtained boundless fortuitous encounters, the situation has changed. He's already starting to decline, and will soon be unable to recover. That's right, said Wan Qianqiu. I can sense that his momentum is waning. As the saying goes, the first spurt of energy, the second decline, and the third exhaustion. Right now, he's like an arrow at the end of its flight. Let's gather our strength and chase after him. I feel that if we go out and destroy the mortal realm, he'll definitely appear. Otherwise, if we chase after him here, it'll be very difficult to subdue him. Xian Yuanbian was a bit sinister. No. The strongest warrior immediately rejected the idea. At this point, the mortal realm is nothing. We entered the core of the primal chaos, not the world of reincarnation. We're here to find treasures and opportunities to strengthen ourselves. How can we neglect the essentials for trifles? If Jiangli doesn't care about the celestial mortal realm and finds countless treasures here, his cultivation base will increase again. Even if we destroy the celestial mortal realm, he can still destroy us all the same. Then, he can use the most powerful origin restoration technique to recreate the celestial mortal realm. That's right, said Wan Qianqiu. We can't let hatred blind our hearts, said Wan Qianqiu. Our top priority is to find more treasures here. Furthermore, we have to find the child of primal chaos and kill him. That's the right path. I'm thinking that Jiang Li's next step will definitely be to find the marks of the epic kings, the king of power, the king of hope, the king of heavens, the king of profound mysteries, and the king of space-time. I can communicate with the river of fate, so I know that in the moment that Jiang Li attained the Tao, he gained the recognition of the six kings. He can fuse with their marks without suffering any backlash. If he can do that, he can even fuse with the marks of the six kings and convince the king of asceticism and the king of yoga. Once he has the marks of the 8 kings, we won't be a match for him. In fact, we might even be suppressed one by one. Indeed, we can't care about the mortal realm right now. It's just a small place. We need to consider the bigger picture here. Jiang Nalan's hair stood on end. As long as we kill Jiang Li, the mortal realm can be ravaged by us. If we can't kill Jiang Li, then even if we destroy the mortal realm, he can recreate it. It'll be exactly the same. Even his thoughts will be similar. Then let's start searching. Alright. Jiang Nalan said, everyone, cooperate with me. We'll use the King of Kings Grand Formation again. This formation is the most powerful formation created by the primal chaos seizing good fortune. As long as it has the power of a king, it can sense it, so Jiang Li can't escape. Moreover, as long as we use it to the limit, we can control all the kings. It's a pity that I only obtained 1/10 of the formation diagram. We still need to find the rest. That's right, Jiang Nalan, we entered this place together. We didn't see you obtain the formation diagram, so how did you suddenly obtain it? The strongest martial artist was a bit surprised. I was subconsciously blessed by a great power. A formation diagram directly appeared in the depths of my mind. Jiang Nalan didn't try to hide anything. With a slight shake of her will, multicolored clouds appeared above her head. Then, they condensed into a formation diagram. Within the depths of this formation diagram were small grids that contained the aura of a king. However, there weren't as many as 129,600 grids, only a tenth. In other words, they only represented a tenth of the formation diagram. Only by gathering all of the formation diagrams together would they be able to display a heaven-shaking might. This formation diagram is unimaginably powerful. It seems, Jiang Nalan, you're the true proud son of heaven. Could it be that you've obtained the favor of the primal chaos? Wan Qianxiu said. But we're enemies with the primal chaos. Let's take a look. Jiang Nalan didn't care too much. As long as we obtain strength, we don't care about anything else. With strength, we can kill whoever we want. Even if the primal chaos gives us strength, we can still devour it. What's there to be afraid of? Chapter 946. With all these people gathered, it's going to be difficult. Jiang Li emerged from the depths of the primal chaos. Life in the depths of primal chaos wasn't easy either. He was constantly being crushed by primal chaos, and his essence was being drained. Thankfully, his unbounded daos were special and allowed him to disintegrate primal chaos palea energy and convert it into power. That made it much easier for him to survive in the depths of primal chaos, where he couldn't enter the cycle of reincarnation. By the time he emerged, he had the king of asceticism and king of yoga locked down. Deep within the life imprints of these two kings were immortal heroic spirits that wanted to rebel at any moment. This was truly a headache for him. If you ride a tiger, it's hard to get off. Right now, he could only try to convince them again and make them acknowledge him. That way, the rest would be easy to handle. Sitting down cross-legged, he drew on the unbounded Great Tao's unbounded spirit grafting technique. King of asceticism, king of yoga, why don't you follow me? Look, king of epics, king of power, king of hope, king of enigma, king of heaven, and king of spacetime have all acknowledged me. I'm the strongest entity in the cycle of reincarnation. I'm the unbounded king. Why are you so stubborn? He repeatedly injected the true essence of the infinite Great Tao into the two seals in an attempt to make them understand his reasoning. As long as the two seals accepted his infinite Great Tao, he would be able to reform them, and he would no longer have to worry about their counterattack. This was because they shared the same ideals, and this kind of ideal could not be shaken no matter how many times he tried. Oh, limitless king, your limitless grand Tao is truly marvelous. However, if you want us to acknowledge you, you're still lacking a bit. You said that the epic king, the power king, the hope king, the mystic king, the heaven king, and the space-time king all acknowledge you, but we haven't seen their seals. If they really do acknowledge you, then you should take their seals and fuse them into your body. That way we'll be convinced that you're the strongest of all, and that you'll be the king of myriad kings. After a long moment passed, the unbounded Great Tao seemed to have infected the sealing marks of the king of asceticism and king of yoga, and they began to emanate wills. Phew! Jiang Li stood up and breathed a sigh of relief. Things seemed to have calmed down, and the ascetic king and the yoga king were no longer causing trouble. However, he needed to find the sealing marks of the 6 kings as soon as possible. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to convince them. The marks of the 6 kings were definitely here, but it was also possible that they had been sealed. Since the 6 kings had acknowledged him in the river of fate, they couldn't be used by others. As long as he could find them, he would be able to fuse them into his body. When that happened, Jiang Li's cultivation base would increase by many times, and he would be able to crush Jiang Nailan and the others. At this point, he did not doubt his own ability. However, the core area of the primal chaos was even bigger than the physical world. The space here was complicated, and there were many native races here. Trying to find the mark of the strongest was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Even if Jiang Li used the infinite Great Tao, it would be difficult for him to find any clues. Thankfully, he had obtained the acknowledgement of the 6 kings, and was able to use his senses. He moved once again, using the supreme arts of the 6 kings. These were all types of divine fists that manifested heaven-defying spell formations. In the blink of an eye, the 6 stars began to rise up. They represented the psychic ideals of the 6 kings, and as they merged with the infinite Great Tao, the sealing marks of the 6 kings began to fly toward Yang Qi. I can sense them. Jiang Li was constantly sending out boundless true energy to nourish the stars. All of a sudden, the stars began to flicker, radiating boundless light and heat. He knew that the 6 sealing marks of the 6 kings were calling out to him. 6 kings, I will use the true meaning of the infinite Great Tao to activate the sealing marks of your kings. 6 great kings, I will use the true meaning of infinity to activate your king marks. Hurry up and fuse with infinity. Let's work together to destroy the primal chaos. We can't give the primal chaos any chance to suppress us. This is the final reincarnation, the final moment. If we can't do it, we'll be completely defeated, and we won't have a chance to make a comeback. At this point, we can't be suspicious of each other, nor can we kill each other. Crack, crack. In the depths of the void, in some unknown location, something seemed to shatter. It was none other than the sealing marks of the 6 kings. However, Jiang Li couldn't summon them at all. He could faintly sense that the marks of the 6 kings were sealed in a certain place. Only by going there himself would he be able to break the seal, allowing the marks of the 6 kings to return to his body. At that time, he would be unparalleled under the heavens. Whoosh! Jiang Li's body flew out, swimming in the depths of this space, shuttling back and forth. He could sense powerful auras drifting about, trembling, praying, and fighting. They were all savages, strange creatures of every description and description. They were incredibly powerful, and there were so many of them that they could absorb primal chaos Pali energy to survive. Their cultivation bases were unfathomable, and if they left the mortal world, they would definitely cause a huge commotion. However, the rewards didn't interest Yang Qi at all. After all, they couldn't possibly be stronger than the top experts of the reincarnation cycle. Yang Qi wanted to know exactly where the sealing marks of the 6 kings were located. Gradually, he got closer and closer to the sealing marks. Rumble! The void in front of him opened up, and an ancient temple appeared. It was tall and majestic, and seemed to contain an enormous core essence. This temple was not man-made, but rather naturally formed. It was the work of the gods, the work of primal chaos itself. There was an ancient and archaic aura to it, and it was almost as if emissaries of world extermination were being born inside. Emissaries of world extermination resided in this place. Boundless God Eye. The space between Jiang Li's eyebrows split open, and a divine eye appeared. It pierced through the ages, peering into the temple. Sure enough, he saw an endless stream of emissaries of world annihilation appearing within the temple. They were all praying, and it seemed as if they were chanting the scriptures of world annihilation. The scriptures were filled with immense power, and as they spread out in all directions, they formed a sealing mark that was suppressing many things. As for what exactly was being suppressed, Jiang Li could not see it clearly, but he could sense that the sealing marks of the 6 kings were also inside, because the 6 marks could sense his soul, and they wanted to break the seal as well. I can't act rashly. It's not wise to kill my way in. Not only are there many powerful kings of world extermination here, there are even stronger existences. The temple itself was born from primal chaos, and if I'm not wrong, this should be the ancient chaos temple. It can give birth to all things, and it is also the origin of the emissaries of world extermination, and also the place where the son of chaos was born. If the son of chaos is inside, then I'm definitely not his match. Jiang Li was secretly worried. He was not afraid of the emissaries of world extermination, and he did not care about the king of emissaries of world extermination either. But there were countless emissaries and kings of world extermination, and there was a very high possibility that the unfathomable son of chaos would appear, so he could not act rashly. Fortunately, he had obtained the absolute art, and he knew what an emissary of world extermination was. He could even display the infinite transformations of the boundless great Tao, imitating the appearance of an emissary of world extermination, so no one would be able to discover him. His body transformed, and suddenly, the boundless Qi was transformed into the Qi of world extermination. This was the true meaning of boundless. It could transform anything, or it wouldn't be called boundless. Just like that, he transformed into an ordinary emissary of destruction and was born from the depths of the void. He infiltrated the temple, and indeed, the moment he neared the depths of the Chaos Temple, he felt the power of the Chaos origin sweeping over him, preventing any foreign energy from invading. But when this origin of chaos entered Jiang Li's body, it only sensed the aura of the emissary of world extermination. Jiang Li passed the test safely. So many powerful auras. Jiang Li entered the temple and found that there were halls and secret chambers everywhere. In the depths of the secret chambers, there were kings of annihilation. The auras of these kings of annihilation were not inferior to any one of the three venerables of the Nirvana realm. The three venerables of the Nirvana realm were actually the Mount Tai and the Big Dipper, the peak of the peak. They were only inferior to the strongest of the Samsara realm. Although Jiang Li could kill them easily now, if these people were to descend into the material realm, they would probably cause great suffering. The mortal realm would be destroyed in an instant, and even the primordial golden pill would be useless. Thinking about it, the three venerables of the Nirvana realm were nothing to worry about. But what if there were 10 times the number of three venerables of the Nirvana realm? What about 100 times the number of three venerables of the Nirvana realm? Even Jiang Li would be suppressed. 100 times the number of three venerables of the Nirvana realm was equivalent to 300 experts like Di, Luo, and Ho. When they joined forces to form a great formation, the power would be unimaginable. Moreover, there were even more of them here, almost endless. This was the true power of the chaos. At this moment, Jiang Li felt the terror of the chaos. Of course, the chaos had not truly awakened. If it had truly awakened, its power would definitely not be limited to this. I don't care how many treasures there are in the depths of the Chaos Temple. I'll think about it after I find the 6 venerables' natal mark. With them as a foundation, I can convince more venerables. This was the only thought in Jiang Li's mind. With the 6 venerables' natal marks, he could subdue asceticism and practice yoga. With the 8 venerables, he could suppress Jiang Nalan and the others and obtain the 6 venerables' natal marks, which would be the 14 venerables' natal marks. Step by step, who could be his match? This thing was like a snowball, getting bigger and bigger. He sensed the natal marks and traversed here. Although it was not a walk in the park, he would not get lost. After an unknown period of time, he suddenly landed and hid in a secret chamber. This secret chamber was not big, but it was about the size of the solar system. What was strange was that along the way, the secret chambers that Jiang Li saw were the same size as the solar system. From this, it could be seen that the size of the solar system had a very mysterious law. It was like the size of gold in the universe, the smell of the birth of wisdom. Jiang Li observed the temple. Suddenly, countless cells in his body shrank and condensed, turning into solar systems. In the center of the temple, there were 6 kings of annihilation. Each of their auras was stronger than the 3 venerables of the Nirvana realm. In the center of the temple was a pool, and in the pool there were 6 natal marks. They were the Era King's natal marks. Chapter 947. Indeed, in the inner room of the temple, the 6 kings of world annihilation were suppressing the 6 seals. The 6 seals were linked together and flew around each other, as if they were about to break out of the seal and fly into Jiang Li's body, allowing him to ascend to the heavens in a single step and gain invincible might. But the seal was very powerful, and it seemed to be able to suppress the ancient times and suppress reincarnation. This was the power of chaos itself, and it was difficult to break. Jiang Li could not just summon the seals to obtain them. He was not afraid of the 6 kings of annihilation. They were about the same level as the 6 Bai Di and Luo. He could easily kill them and suppress them. Unless there were 100 or a few hundred of them working together, he would be able to kill them without breaking a sweat. However, things were a little tricky now, because it was extremely difficult to fight in here without alerting all the emissaries of annihilation. If he killed 6 kings of annihilation, there would be 600, or even 6,000 coming for him. In an instant, he would be suppressed, killed, and annihilated. For his own safety, he had to think of a long-term plan. The 6 kings of annihilation were suppressing each other, and their powers were linked together to activate the curse of annihilation. It was similar to the Infinity Curse, and the curse began to seep into the seals of the strongest. Although they could not destroy the structure, they could not give the seals any space to act on their own. Everyone, among the many seals, these 6 seemed to be the most restless. Someone is summoning us from the outside. I wonder who it is? One of the kings of annihilation said. No matter what, we have to suppress the seals and wait for the Son of Chaos to come. When that time comes, we will reach a whole new level. This is the last reincarnation cycle, and I wonder what changes will happen during this time. Right now, the land of reincarnation in the depths of the core of chaos has been completely opened, and it is communicating with the material world outside. It's all because of that damned Yuanshi. Where is he now? I heard that he seems to be taking over the bodies of freaks born from chaos. In this reincarnation cycle, many powerful freaks were born from the depths of chaos, and they came with the Son of Chaos. They are the unfilial children, and when the Son of Chaos appears, they will all be killed. Apart from guarding against the people from the material realm, we also have to guard against the appearance of the Chaos Freak. That's true. We're all emissaries born from the primal chaos. We have to protect the safety of the primal chaos, so that its will can safely awaken and activate the power to destroy the world. As they discussed and communicated with each other, Jiang Li caught some clues and obtained quite a bit of information. A trace of a smile appeared on his face. He quietly waited, not making a move. Since he had found these 6 imprints, he had to be patient. He could obtain them at any time. He was waiting for an opportunity to find a perfect plan. If he could find this place, so could Jiang Nalan and the rest. If they rushed here, they might fall into a trap and fight with the envoy of annihilation. At that time, they would be distracted, and Jiang Li would be able to snatch 6 seals and leave this place. There was still a 90% chance of success. He didn't move at all as he molded his body. He adjusted his cells according to the volume of gold in his body and the scale of the solar system. The infinite great Tao became more and more profound. The 6 kings of annihilation here did not know what fatigue was and continued to suppress them. Suddenly, an opportunity presented itself. This was because Jiang Li felt a faint murderous aura seeping into the hall of this room. Suddenly, a shadow appeared. It was an extremely tyrannical shadow, but Jiang Li could not sense its tyrannical aura. There was only a faint aura of undying and indestructible. This aura caused Jiang Li to tremble. This isn't Jiang Nalan's aura. Even if Jiang Nailan and the rest joined forces, their aura wouldn't be this powerful. Jiang Li thought to himself, what is it? Could it be? There was a familiar aura in the depths of his heart. It seemed to have absorbed the power of this shadow. Flickering Great Emperor. Yes, it's the Flickering Great Emperor. Jiang Li suddenly remembered that he had once controlled a great emperor in the martial world. That great emperor surrendered to him and obtained the power of the freak in the depths of the primal chaos. It seemed that he had become the freak's target of possession. And now, the aura of this shadow was exactly the same as that freak's. It seemed that the freak had already matured and stood out, evolving into a human form. It interfered with the material world and the world of the primal chaos, and even had to obtain the mark of the strongest. The chaotic freak that controlled the flickering great, or rather, the chaotic tumor, the power of this thing was not something that ordinary people could compare with. Even he was far from being a match for it. The chaotic tumor was an existence that could compete with the son of chaos. It was equivalent to the son of chaos, but it was just an unfilial child. People with bad karma would produce unfilial children. Chaos also had bad karma, and heaven also had bad karma. That was all. It seems that many things have happened since then. Even this thing has appeared, but it definitely hasn't reincarnated yet. In the end, it will only be a shadow. Could it be that it also wants to obtain the mark of the strongest? That makes sense. As long as the mark of the strongest is obtained, it can be manipulated to do many things. If I can suppress the mark, then it will be even easier for this chaotic freak to suppress the mark. Jiang Li was deeply aware of the horror of this thing. At least for now, he was no match for it unless he obtained more marks. He himself had also integrated the power of this freak, so he was familiar with its strength. According to his calculations, this freak was roughly equivalent to the combined power of dozens of marks of the strongest. He had no confidence in refining this thing. Before it awakened, it was only natural for him to take advantage of it. Now that it had awakened, Jiang Li could only retreat. The shadow appeared. The kings of annihilation seemed to have sensed it as well. All of them raised their heads and immediately saw a horrifying human face. All of them immediately howled. However, before they could howl, the human-shaped shadow waved its sleeves. Whoosh, 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 a vortex spread out from the depths of the sleeves. In a flash, the 6 kings of annihilation were sucked into it. Then, they screamed in pain and died in an instant. Then, the shadow shook his hand. Crackle! A raging tide appeared between heaven and earth, directly shattering the seal. Then, it grabbed again, wanting to grab the marks of the 6 kings in its hand. Swoosh! At this moment, Jiang Li's heart was in his throat, because he knew that this was the crucial moment. If the marks of the 6 kings were to fall into the hands of this chaotic tumor freak, it would be wishful thinking for him to obtain the marks. Therefore, he had to seize this opportunity to obtain the 6 marks. If the freak before him had completely condensed into a physical form, he would not stand a chance at all. However, this freak was only a shadow, and it only had about a third of its power, so he definitely stood a chance. Fortune was found in danger. Moreover, he had a spiritual connection with the marks of the 6 kings. Infinite Divine Fist. His body activated the Infinite Divine Fist, and the Divine Fist was ever-changing. Suddenly, it evolved an aura that was exactly the same as that of the freak. Such an aura was able to confuse the freak. Crackle! At that moment, the pressure coming from within the Chaos Shrine was directed at the freak. Although the freak had killed 6 kings of annihilation with a single move, it was still difficult for him to completely ignore the power of the Chaos Shrine. Boundless divine lightning of chaos rained down on him and exploded on top of his head, causing him to be unable to move. This is my chance. Jiang Li knew that the lightning would not be able to hurt the freak, but even if it could only stop him for a moment, it would be enough for him to obtain the treasures. 6 great kings come. I, Jiang Li, am the limitless king. I am the true King of Kings, the true King of the most powerful. Now, all of you will fuse into my body and allow my body to transcend primal chaos. The moment he took a step forward, the marks of the 6 great monarchs sensed his aura and rushed toward his body. At this moment, the marks of the 6 kings had all entered his body. Moreover, sensing the aura of the 6 kings, the ascetic king and the yoga king immediately calmed down. In the depths of Jiang Li's mind, a man and a woman, the ascetic king and the yoga king, appeared. The two of them smiled faintly. Jiang Li, since you have obtained the marks of the 6 kings, we will fulfill our promise and cooperate with you. We hope that you can bring us out of reincarnation and out of chaos. We can feel that there is a wider world outside of chaos. Chaos is just a mass of things that envelopes us and restricts our freedom. We are all frogs at the bottom of a well. When will we be able to see the outside world? I will definitely do this. No matter what the future holds, no matter what happens to chaos, I will do this. Jiang Li said, since fate has given me infinity, as the infinite king, I will naturally bring all living beings to the depths of infinity's future. Whiz! Jiang Li took advantage of the opportunity to receive the marks of the 6 kings and communicate with the ascetic king and the yoga king. All of this happened within his consciousness, and it didn't take any time at all. In the blink of an eye, the 8 marks were fully integrated. Surges of power gathered around his body and 8 reincarnations appeared behind him. Each star represented the highest level of power in the depths of the reincarnation. I understand. I finally understand. So it turns out that each and every seal represents a cycle of reincarnation. Each cycle represents an extreme level of power. At the highest level, power is calculated according to the cycle of reincarnation. In that instant, Jiang Li understood a new level of power. The mark of the strongest expert represented a whole new realm. Possessing the mark of the strongest expert was equivalent to possessing the power of reincarnation. As for the 3 paragons of the Permitha, although they had managed to survive 3 reincarnations, their power was far from that of a single reincarnation cycle. In other words, they only had about 1/10 of the power of a single reincarnation cycle. Now that Jiang Li had 8 marks, he had the power of 8 reincarnations, and that wasn't even counting himself. He didn't need anything at all, but he could still crush the ascetic king and the yoga king. That meant he had at least 2 reincarnations, and was many, many times stronger than Jiang Nalan. Jiang Nalan himself didn't have any power at all, and couldn't compare to the 3 paragons of the Permitha. He had to rely on the divine abilities of the Faith King and the Light King. Chapter 948. At this time, Jiang Li had gained the recognition of the 8 strongest experts. They added their power to his body. His own power was equivalent to 2 samsara powers. Combined, it was 10 samsara powers. As for Jiang Nalan's group of 5, they were far from being a match for him. This was because the 5 of them combined only had the power of 6 paths of reincarnation. At this level of power, it counted as samsara. Whoever had more samsara powers would be invincible. Of course, even if Jiang Li had obtained the recognition of the 8 strongest cultivators and had 10 reincarnation forces in total, he would still be no match for the freak in front of him. His strength was equivalent to 10 reincarnation forces. Although he wasn't the strongest and didn't have the mark of the strongest, power was power. The strongest experts were also born from the primal chaos. This freak was also born from the primal chaos. Furthermore, he was equivalent to the son of primal chaos. He was an unfilial child, and his strength was equivalent to that of the strongest experts of dozens of reincarnations. Fortunately, this unfilial child had yet to unleash his full strength. His body could still be restricted, and he could only split out a shadow. This gave Jiang Li an opportunity to obtain the imprints of the 6 kings. Forget it. I won't fight this unfilial one. It's not wise to fight like this in the Chaos Temple. Jiang Li understood many things, especially his understanding of the mark of the strongest expert in the samsara cycle. Now, he understood the essence of the samsara cycle. At the end of cultivation, reincarnation was the unit of measurement. Just like back then, life force was the unit of measurement. Now, it seemed to be back to square one. 1 samsara power, 2 samsara power, 10 samsara power, thousands of samsara power. This was equivalent to 1 point of life force, 2 points of life force, 3 points of life force. At the final level, the unit of measurement became samsara. 1 samsara power was an unknown amount of life force. It couldn't be calculated at all. It was like the difference between a large world and a speck of dust. In reality, there were very few people who could have 1 samsara power. Jiang Li looked at it. He still had to strengthen himself. Just obtaining the mark of the strongest was not enough. Only by becoming strong himself would he be the foundation. His current strength was actually only at 2 samsara realms. If he continued to cultivate like this, he might be able to achieve 3 paths reincarnation, 4 paths reincarnation, or even more. This wasn't something that others could compare to. Because he cultivated the infinite great Tao, the infinite great Tao could contain boundless power. As long as he condensed more laws, 102 laws, 103 laws, 104 laws, if this continued, his power would only grow stronger and stronger. Moreover, he seemed to have comprehended the mysteries of the 102 laws in that instant. 102 laws, that was no easy feat. The so-called referred to change. There were no changes, it was eternally unmoving, peerless in the world. This was the 102nd law. This law was comprehended in his heart, causing Jiang Li's mental state to be in an inexplicable state of profound meaning. He wanted to cultivate all 102 laws, take the infinite great Tao one step further, and cultivate to a truly invincible realm that far surpassed any other great Tao. Moreover, if he cultivated 102 nomological laws, his own strength might break through the limit and reach the level of 3 reincarnations, directly increasing the strength of 1 reincarnation cycle. This wasn't an imprint left behind by the strongest experts, but rather one's own comprehension. This was no small matter. "How dare you?" At this instant, a voice rang out from the depths of his heart. It was actually the freak who made his move. That freak wanted to obtain the imprints of the 6 kings, but he didn't expect Jiang Li to appear out of nowhere and directly take away the 6 imprints. This was a huge taboo, and he definitely wouldn't let this person off. The huge hand continued to grab. The 5 fingers were like pillars that could support the heavens, breaking through everything, condensing space, and grasping the entire world in the depths of the palm. Heaven and earth in the palm, shaking everything. Jiang Li couldn't be bothered to waste time with this person. He already had the intention to escape. His body swayed as he executed his latest ultimate art, the infinite great Tao's Tao of no easy. Transcended transformation and reached a whole new level. Within change there was no change, and within no change there was eternal change. With the power of 10 reincarnations, he executed a secret art that had never appeared in thousands of reincarnations. It was easy for him to escape from the hands of the freak. Whoosh, 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 Jiang Li was like a gossamer thread, ignoring the changes in space and everything else. He shot through the palm of the freak, twisting and distorting as he vanished. At this point, the freak couldn't pursue him, because he had entered the depths of the Temple of Chaos. There were countless emissaries of Armageddon and kings of annihilation, all of whom would join forces to attack him. Jiang Li left the Chaos Temple and saw that the temple was filled with explosions of vital energy. The wretched son of the freak was fighting with the kings of world annihilation. He quietly left the place. Although the Chaos Temple here contained countless treasures, countless opportunities, and even the imprints of the strongest experts, it was too dangerous. Sometimes it was better not to be blinded by greed. Right now, he had to take things one step at a time. Now that he had found the imprints of the 6 kings, and his cultivation base was almost there, he could summon the remaining 4 scrolls of the Indestructible Sutra. These 4 scrolls of the Indestructible Sutra contained the complete quintessence and profundities of time. Although Zhongli couldn't obtain them, he could rely on his own boundless great Taos to become undecaying, surpassing the realm of living as long as heaven and earth. However, if he could complete them, he would be able to control the river of time and fuse it into the boundless great Taos. That way, his cultivation base would grow even stronger, and he would be able to control time itself. He left and went to an inconspicuous location, where he began to summon the remaining 4 scrolls of the Indestructible Sutra. The infinite great Tao appeared above his head, and vast amounts of vital energy formed into the 104 scrolls. His current level of power was similar to that of primal chaos, and he could use his vital energy to form magical treasures and other things. Infinite sacrifice. Zhongli made use of the chaos chi here, and started to worship the 104 scriptures, firmly controlling the situation in his hands. After that, his body continued to gather energy. The 104 Indestructible Sutra shone with an increasingly intense light. At the same time, scripture characters appeared one after another, seeping into the depths of space and swimming around, as though they were searching for the remaining 4 scriptures. Crack! Zhongli was far stronger than he had been in the past. Compared to when he had first entered, he was now 3 times as strong as he had been before. When he had first entered, he had only been able to summon the power of 3 reincarnations. He had 2 of them, plus the Ascetic King and the Yoga King. Originally, the 2 kings had counted as 2, while he should have only had 4. But at the time, he had only been able to suppress them, and the power he had been able to unleash had been limited. Because of that, the 2 kings had only been able to unleash half of their power. But now, he had 10 reincarnations. In the past, his vitality had been 3 and now it was 10. How big was the difference? Therefore, when he summoned his power, it was perfect. He didn't need to search for the Indestructible Sutra, and could summon them directly. If he had been this strong just now, he could have summoned the 6 king marks, and wouldn't have needed to go to the Primal Chaos Temple to suppress them. The depths of the Primal Chaos Temple were originally the birthplace of the emissaries and kings of annihilation. There were countless treasures there, and Zhongli felt that it was a dangerous place, so he left and waited for an opportunity to enter again. His summoning grew stronger and stronger, and the 104 scrolls continued to vibrate and rub against each other. They shone brightly, and the glory of the divine ability of annihilation could be seen everywhere. Rumble! Suddenly, the void was shattered. A scripture containing a whistling aura rushed over, suppressing everything in the air. The most powerful aura could be seen everywhere. Zhongli made a grabbing motion, and the scripture landed in his palm. Then, it circulated, transforming into boundless energy, breaking down and reforming. In the end, the scripture condensed once again, becoming Zhongli's own. Then, 3 more scriptures appeared, breaking through the void with thunderous fury and descending upon this place. Zhongli grabbed them one by one, disintegrated them, and then reassembled them. In the blink of an eye, he had obtained the profundities of the Indestructible Sutra. The Indestructible Sutra was also known as the Book of Time, and was a book that had been created from enlightenment regarding time in the depths of primal chaos. It recorded what time was, how it was born, and how it could be manipulated. If there was no time, would the world even be able to take shape? Or would it take on a different form? The Book of Time could manipulate the river of time. Zhongli finally reached the great circle of the 108 scriptures, and didn't encounter any obstructions. Under his perception, the river of time suddenly revealed its true form in the material realm and the void realm. It shone brightly, and everyone could see that the shape of the river of time was about to merge with the endless river. Excellent! 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 In the celestial red dust realm, Meng Xiuan and the others were overjoyed. They could feel that the flow of time in the depths of the celestial red dust realm was incomparably stable. It was almost relaxing. Everyone in the depths of the celestial red dust realm felt that the world had changed. The concept of the flow of time was different from before. Buzz. The space-time in the red dust world seemed to conform to the heavenly Tao, to conform to primal chaos, to conform to the infinite. In the depths of the red dust world, flowers bloomed, beautiful to the extreme, and all sorts of impurities were being eroded away by the vibrations of time. Time could erase everything, and could also eliminate everything. It could exterminate heart devils, destroy karma, and remove karma. In the face of time, nothing mattered. After hundreds or thousands of years passed, even the deepest hatred would fade away. If the red dust world could perfectly control time, and gain enlightenment of the profound truths of time, then it would become a grand world that had never existed in the thousands of cycles of reincarnation. Rumble! At this moment, the situation suddenly changed. In the depths of the material world, a huge hand appeared, which reached out toward the boundless river of time and the river of time. This hand would not allow the river of time to merge with the river of time. Jiangli could sense it from the primal chaos core, and his eyes snapped open. I can't believe there's an expert in the material world like this. He must have been ejected from the treasure trove. Chapter 949. The physical realm had completely changed. It was completely different from what Jiangli was familiar with. The red dust realm, which was originally number 1, had become inconspicuous in front of the new physical realm. All kinds of boundless great worlds appeared one after another. Naturally, there would be all kinds of big shots appearing. In the depths of the core of chaos, in a world that did not enter the cycle of reincarnation, there lived many peerless and invincible experts. It was not difficult for them to appear from it and come to the physical realm with the ejection of treasures. Sure enough, an expert had appeared. The expert's big hand grabbed the river of time as if to collect it, and even the infinite river. Such earth-shattering means was something that even the third-dimension universe's heavens will could not do. Jiangli sensed it clearly and naturally could not let the expert collect it. His will suddenly moved, and a fist appeared in the depths of the infinite river. That fist was the immutable among the infinite changes. Boom! That move was the latest unique skill that had appeared, and it carried the power of 10 reincarnations. With that punch, the big hand collapsed, was completely destroyed, shattered, and completely turned into nothingness. Good! In the red dust realm, almost all the great emperor-level experts saw that scene, and the other gods also saw the various changes that happened in the depths of the void realm through the image of the infinite golden cores. Dream Kite was the first to exclaim, Jiang Li's power has indeed improved again, and he has stepped into the realm where he can compete with chaos. Now that such a powerful existence has been defeated, I think it will not dare to cause trouble in the red dust realm. That's true. Hong Heiyu nodded. Our next step is to expand rapidly. I have already observed the information that Jiang Li sent out from the infinite golden cores and know that the peak power is calculated according to the cycle of reincarnation. Right now, we are still far from the power of one cycle of reincarnation. According to the calculation of humans on Earth, we are all people with vitality below 1, and the person who attacked just now may have the power of several cycles of reincarnation. It will be very difficult for us to deal with him. If we want to expand now, it may be difficult to move forward, but we must quickly increase our strength. Although there are many experts right now and the danger factor has increased, this is a good opportunity for us. Luo Feng looked around. Let's start with the smaller universes. Look at the one closest to us. It's roughly the size of an immortal world, and there are all sorts of living creatures and pre-heaven treasures. Let's attack it first. Not too far away from the mortal dust realm was a major world. It was as big as the immortal world and had been born out of it. However, compared to the material world, it was a bit smaller. In the depths of the material world, there were universes that were 10 times larger than the immortal world, perhaps even 100 times larger than the immortal world. The huge hand just now came from a world that was almost as big as a three-dimensional universe. As for the one closest to the red dust realm, it was completely green, and there were countless trees inside. The tall trees in the primeval forest could be counted in light years. There were even more powerful cultivators in the depths, and the world had even produced its own heaven's will. If the red dust heaven world could devour them one by one, it would be like acquiring the resources of an immortal world. It would be very beneficial to its growth. The attack began. Under the command of the red dust realm, the battle to sweep through the heavens began. Rumble! The boundless river merged with the river of time, and the depths of the red dust realm began to shine with the light of time. Whoosh! In the depths of the red dust realm, a beam of light shot up into the sky, illuminating every corner of the world like a sun. This was the power of the boundless gold core. The boundless gold core became a symbol, and its light told all living beings in the material world that cultivating the boundless great Tao would lead to the ultimate cultivation base. In the new material world, there were many times more living beings than there had been before. The boundless great Tao was the truth, and it spread quickly. It was the #1 divine ability, and anyone who cultivated it would be able to grow stronger. Good things could spread at unimaginable speeds. Whoosh! Heaven and earth trembled and exploded as the light of the boundless gold core illuminated all sorts of major universes. Many living beings began to study it, and in the blink of an eye, the depths of the red dust realm began to change. The will of all living beings poured into the depths of the boundless gold core, causing the gold core to transform into true immortality. Jiang Li was at the core of the primal chaos, deep in Yuanshir's treasure trove. He began to absorb the aura and psyche of the boundless gold core. Just now, he had grabbed hold of the river of time, and the light of the boundless gold core shot into the void realm, illuminating many places in the material world, causing countless living beings to study the boundless great Tao. In this way, he gained the wisdom of all living beings, and his cultivation base increased greatly. Bang! 102 nomological laws. At that moment, the unchanging nomological laws were successfully condensed, becoming the most powerful existence, and once again raising the realm of the boundless great Tao. Crack! Within Jiang Li's body, there seemed to be something that had split apart. It was as if a deep scar had been carved into his body. This scar twisted and turned, engraved in the depths of his soul, forming the strongest imprint. In the depths of his soul, there were already 2 such marks, which were the marks of reincarnation. Now there was a third mark, which meant that his cultivation base had reached 3 reincarnations. Coupled with the 8 major marks, his strength was equivalent to 11 reincarnations. Moreover, as the boundless great Tao snowballed, it was very likely that even the emissaries of annihilation could not help but cultivate it. When that time came, Jiang Li's cultivation base would be even stronger. In fact, no divine art could compare to the will of all living beings. The will to control all living beings was the true power. Just like in ancient Earth, the heroes and warriors who were skilled in martial arts were also famous, but they could not compare to the Emperor. The Emperor only controlled all living beings on the surface, and that was even more incomparable to religion. Now, Jiang Li's boundless great Tao was not a religion, but its ability to recognize it was 10,000 times higher than that of a religion. It was like eating and drinking, penetrating into people's hearts. People could not believe in religion, but they could not eat and drink. Therefore, all living beings must cultivate the boundless great Tao to survive and improve. That was the truth. Wherever the truth went, no one could question its correctness. In the thousands of reincarnations, there had never been such a truth like the boundless great Tao. Therefore, Jiang Li was unique. As the world developed, he would become stronger and stronger. There were no limits, no bottlenecks, and everything proceeded in an orderly manner. It seems that there is still a lot of room for improvement. A trace of astonishment flashed in the depths of Jiang Li's brows. This was the characteristic of his boundless great Tao. As long as he had enough wisdom, he could comprehend the mysteries and condense the 103 nomological laws. Then, he could add another trace of the power of reincarnation, and so on. This was his strongest point. He stood up, satisfied, and looked around. Next, I have to look for the other marks, but I have no fate with them. I'll first capture the 5 strongest warriors, Jiang Nailan, Great Dream Crown Prince, Xianyuan Bian, Wan Qianqiu, and the 5 others. I'll take out the marks in their bodies first. Since 6 of them attacked me, it means that we are fated. I can go and get them according to this fate. Jiang Li had never seen the other marks, so there was no fate and no way to find them. The ascetic king had landed in the mortal realm and opposed Jiang Li. This was fate. The yoga king had also been summoned by Yuanshi. He wanted to possess the body of a maid to deal with Jiang Li. This was also fate. The 6 great kings had acknowledged Jiang Li in the river of fate. This was a deeper fate. Now, the 5 of them besieged him. This was an ill-fated fate. If there was fate, everything would be fine. If there was fate, there would be a chance to find them. Boundless karma, the karma of heaven and earth, the reversal of time and space, tracing back to the source. Jiang Li's cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. At this moment, if he could find the 5 of them, he would definitely be able to kill them all. Furthermore, he would be able to find the location of the 5 of them by grabbing hold of the ill-fated fate. He drew on the boundless karma, the karma of heaven and earth, causing a sandbox to appear on the ground. It was a dimensional space that had no concept of up, down, left, or right. This was the space in the depths of the primal chaos core, with many dimensions and many angles. Anyone who entered it wouldn't even be able to figure out what it was, much less escape. However, Jiang Li could understand all of this. He could easily extrapolate the dimensions and find what he was looking for. Found it. On the ground, the picture formed a sphere and rose into the air. Within it, 5 dots appeared. They were linked by fate and were connected to Jiang Li's body. Jiang Li reached out, and the air trembled as he vanished. When he reappeared, he was in an unfamiliar place. This place was a massive mountain, and there were massive trees within the mountain. Within a basin in the mountain, there was an ancient historical remnant, and there was a statue of a god standing within the historical remnant. This statue was a gray-white substance, and it was the essence condensed from the depths of the primal chaos. Jiang Nailan and the others were gathered beside the statue, seeming to be searching for something. Jiang Nailan, are you sure that the King of Kings formation diagram is here? Who does this statue belong to? The strongest martial artist asked. You obtained a 10th of the formation diagram, so you definitely obtained a lot of information. Tell us the secrets you know and share them with us. At a time like this, we should be on the same side and grasp the secrets of the deepest realms. Actually, it's nothing much. This statue is indeed quite mystical. It isn't the strongest expert in every reincarnation, but it's someone even more powerful than the strongest expert. It was born and raised in the core and didn't appear in the material world. The material world is actually a furnace, a testing ground. The depths of the primal chaos are the true places that don't enter the reincarnation cycle. This statue is called Sin, and even though it was born and raised here, it has great intelligence and comprehended the principles of primal chaos. It wanted to break through the primal chaos but was destroyed in the end. Its strength is unfathomable. There's definitely a tenth of the formation diagram below this statue. Chapter 950. Indeed, the material world outside was a testing ground for primordial chaos. The most powerful experts were born from there, and they represented reincarnation power. The powerful existences born in the core region were indeed unfathomable, and they far surpassed reincarnation power. In theory, this was indeed the case. There was no reincarnation here, and there was no concept of time. As long as one lived here, one's lifespan would greatly increase, and as long as one existed with primordial chaos, one's power would become greater and greater. Even a pig that had gone through so many reincarnations would be incredibly powerful. Here, it was also a lively world. Heaven-shaking and earth-shaking figures had been born here, and there had been overlords who had fought to resist primordial chaos. There had also been giants who had wanted to unify the world. There had also been resplendent civilizations and all sorts of empires. What the material world had, the core region had. What the outside world did not have, the core region had. The statue in front of Zhao Fu was a grand existence who had died fighting against primordial chaos, and it was one of the people who had obtained the King of Kings formation diagram. The King of Kings formation diagram had originally been complete, but after a world-shaking battle, many experts had resisted primordial chaos and broken the formation diagram into 10 parts. Whoever could obtain the formation diagram would become the true ruler of the world. The formation diagram had the effect of controlling the most powerful expert's mark. If others had the most powerful expert's mark but you did not, but you had the formation diagram, the most powerful expert's mark would be absorbed by the formation diagram. It was the bane of all marks. This was also the reason why Zhongli had not clashed head-on with these 5 people. If he had clashed with them, he would definitely have lost, and it would have been a huge defeat. Even the imprints of the ascetic king and the yoga king would have been snatched away. Even now, Zhao Fu would not rashly act and immediately suppress them. This was because the other side had the formation diagram. Even though it was only 1/10 of the formation diagram, it had massive might and could suppress the 8 marks within his body. Of course, even if the other side had the formation diagram, they would not be a match for Zhao Fu. However, there were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers here, and if a powerful existence tried to take advantage of him, he would be going for wool and coming home shorn. As such, Zhao Fu had to wait and make a perfect plan. He would observe and adapt to the situation. There was more than 1/10 of the formation diagram below the statue. The moment it was opened, Zhongli would be able to snatch the other half of the formation diagram from the tiger's mouth. That way, he would be able to subdue the 5 of them and make them his slaves. He would be able to make them do whatever he wanted. We still haven't been able to catch up to Zhongli. The strongest martial artist said, if he is allowed to achieve climate change, we will probably die without a burial. Moreover, have you noticed? I can feel that there are massive changes in the outside world. It seems that Zhongli has obtained the remaining 4 scrolls of the Indestructible Sutra and has completed the complete Book of Time. He has obtained the blessing of the River of Time. In this way, his infinite river and infinite golden core can illuminate the material world outside. More and more people are cultivating the infinite great Tao, and his strength is growing like a rolling snowball. That's true, Jiang Nailan said, looking very serious. I know what's going on outside like the back of my hand. Zhongli has the complete Book of Time, and his cultivation base is unfathomable. He has also gained enlightenment of the infinite ultimate Tao, the 102 magical laws. He's starting to unleash the true divine abilities of the infinite ultimate Tao. None of us are a match for him. He already has the power of 3 reincarnations, and he definitely has the marks of 8 reincarnators. I'm afraid we can't do anything to him right now. It's a pity that I wasn't able to kill him back then. On Earth, when he hadn't achieved his full potential, it should have been easy for me to kill him. However, I missed the opportunity. It's difficult to deal with him now. Don't tell me he has 6 marks? Impossible. How do you know that? Where did you get that information? Wan Qianxiu and Xianyuan Bian's expressions changed. Ever since they entered the primal chaos core, Jiang Nailan had become unfathomable. They felt like he was omnipotent and omniscient. He was a completely different person. In the past, the strongest warrior had always been the eldest brother. But now, Jiang Nailan was fully deserving of being the true eldest brother. His cultivation was so high that the other 4 didn't even know how strong he was. There are some things you don't need to ask too much. It might not be a good thing, Jiang Nailan said. As long as you follow me, I guarantee nothing will happen to you. Got it? His tone became a bit harsh and arrogant, as if he really did treat these people as his followers. Although the other 4 didn't feel comfortable, they had a vague feeling that falling out with Jiang Nailan at this time wasn't the right thing to do. All right, we won't ask too much. The strongest warrior was the smartest. He absolutely didn't say anything and just changed the topic. Brother, how do we open this statue and take out the things inside? It's very simple. We will refine this statue. Although the surface of this statue has turned into chaos stones, the essence of that Supreme Elder is contained within. I just need to remove the chaos stones on the outside and we can absorb the essence inside. Everyone's strength will increase, and this increase will come from our own bodies. We definitely won't rely on marks to do things. A mark is a mark, not our own bodies. Right now, each of us is very weak, and we are far from having the strength of a reincarnation cycle. If we remove the marks, we will be no different from ants in front of Jiangli. Jiang Nailan seemed to know everything. He didn't care about what others thought of him. He continued, and this time, if we can absorb the essence of this Supreme Elder, we will be able to have a reincarnation cycle in our bodies. We will also be the strongest warriors, and we will be able to condense the strongest reincarnation mark. Is it that mystical? Wan Qianxiu, Great Dream Crown Prince, and Xianyuan Bian were all shocked. As expected, after opening Yuanshir's treasury, the things we obtained changed from quality to quantity. That's right. This statue is called Ho. He was once the leader of the native tribe here. He led the tribe to resist the primal chaos and fought against the world annihilation emissary countless times. Jiang Nailan's expression seemed to be in control of everything. Although his power has fallen, the source energy he left behind is simply too useful to us. I've already said that this place is Yuanshir's treasury. In fact, it isn't. It's just that Yuanshir suddenly found an opportunity to enter this place in this reincarnation cycle. He opened the passage and sealed it, and then spread the word that this is his treasure. In fact, it's simply ridiculous. That's true. The strongest warrior agreed with Jiang Nailan. Brother Nailan, you know a lot now, and your cultivation is many times stronger than us. You are the big brother now. We will listen to you and follow your lead. Very good, very good. Jiang Nailan seemed to naturally acknowledge his position as the big brother. Originally, this position belonged to the strongest warrior, but now it had become his. However, he deserved it. He indeed had many secrets on his body. This Jiang Nailan seems to have received pointers from some incredible being. Jiang Li was observing from afar. He had long heard this group of people's conversation. He had already seen the state of Jiang Nailan. Now that he didn't appear, no matter how powerful Jiang Nailan was, he wouldn't be able to discover him. Therefore, it was very safe. Knowing oneself and knowing the enemy, one would never be defeated in 100 battles. The current Jiang Nailan was completely different from before. He actually had a kind of meticulous planning. Moreover, there seemed to be a great power hidden in his body that had yet to erupt. According to this calculation, there must be some kind of energy in his body that was very mysterious and gloomy. He must have obtained a great fortuitous encounter. Just what terrifying thing is using Jiang Nailan to do things? Jiang Li observed for a long time but couldn't find anything. He was afraid that he would attract the attention of that terrifying thing if he investigated too deeply. The aura of that terrifying thing on Jiang Nailan's body was the most terrifying existence Jiang Li had ever seen. He seemed to have never sensed such a powerful aura before. However, Jiang Nailan didn't lose his self-awareness. His entire body was constantly circulating and improving. He was constantly absorbing supreme divine power. Very soon, he might really be able to cultivate to the point where he could have the power of reincarnation and stand shoulder to shoulder with the strongest warrior. Moreover, it would continue to increase. It was as if he had the endless great Tao. This was the most terrifying point. In this world, other than the endless great Tao, there was only the primal chaos. There was no third-party existence. Only these two things could endlessly increase one's strength without any bottleneck. Other existences, even if it was Yuanshi, couldn't do it. I have to observe first. Don't act blindly without thinking. Let's see what they'll do. Jiang Li went into hibernation once more. Actually, Yuanshi wasn't strong back then. He wasn't strong enough to become the strongest existence. His talent was ordinary, but by chance, he discovered a passageway to the core of primal chaos. He entered and obtained countless treasures, including treasures left behind by countless supreme existences. Only when he reached the outside world did he gain the ability to subdue the myriad world. Jiang Nailan actually spat out flames from his mouth. These flames condensed into characters that coiled around the primal chaos idol. They seeped into it, wanting to refine it. All of you, pour your energy into me and activate the formation diagram. We'll refine this idol, Jiang Nailan said. Right, this idol has been standing here for who knows how long. It's in the core of primal chaos and can't enter the cycle of reincarnation. Who knows how many ancient supreme existences have appeared here? Why hasn't anyone come to refine it? Wan Qianxiu asked. Humph. Jiang Nailan snorted coldly. Trying to refine it is easier said than done. Look at the bloodstains on the idol. Those who tried to refine it were all killed by the will of the Pyrolite. Right now, I'm using the Crimson God curse that made me famous. I can't believe you even know a curse like that. Wan Qianxiu wanted to ask more questions, but then he remembered that Jiang Nailan had just told him not to ask. Closing his mouth, he obediently poured his energy into Jiang Nailan. Chapter 951. The Crimson God Curse was a secret technique that was incredibly unfathomable. It was the key to melting this statue. The divine statue puppet had already towered here for many years, but no one had been able to refine it. Its surface was covered in bloodstains, and those who tried to collect the divine statue puppet were instead devoured and killed. This divine statue possessed killing intent, and there were even deeper mysteries hidden within. However, Jiang Nailan actually mastered the Qi God mantra, which meant that he was almost the successor of this Qi. His whole body was densely packed with mantras, and the stone outside the statue began to disintegrating inch by inch. The seal was lifted. An incredibly powerful aura spread out from within. Jiang Nailan is becoming more and more mysterious. Could he have been possessed by some powerful existence? Jiang Li wondered. He wanted to find the existence behind the scenes, but after looking closely, he found that even though Jiang Nailan had become stronger, there were no signs of him being controlled. It was as if some powerful existence was telling him all sorts of things for free and nurturing him, giving him power to make him stronger and stronger. Of course, he was definitely a pawn. There was no free lunch in the world. However, Jiang Nailan did not seem to care. He had become a pawn of the Heavenly Father, but he had devoured the Heavenly Father. Now, he had become a pawn of an even more powerful existence. after accumulating power to the peak, devouring that even more powerful existence would not be difficult. Bang! Finally, the statue collapsed. Within the depths of the statue, a transparent jade-like, crystal-like, and dream-like energy appeared. Within the depths of the energy, there were war flags that fluttered and formed a formation diagram. The aura was similar to the King of Kings formation diagram that Jiang Nailan had obtained, but the structure was different. If that was the case, Jiang Li could confirm that this formation diagram was a part of the King of Kings formation diagram, and the war flag was a killing aura. No wonder the person who had received it had been shattered by the formation diagram and turned into a pool of blood that dyed the ground red. Pay attention, Jiang Nailan said. This is a part of the King of Kings formation diagram, and Swanee has fused into its body. Not only is its body even more powerful, but it also has innate killing abilities. Anyone who touches this formation diagram will be completely killed. If it wasn't for the fact that I have the Crimson God Curse, it would have been a destructive blow. The Chi God mantra is indeed magical. A look of comprehension appeared on the face of the strongest martial artist, but it still can't compare to the limitless great Tao. We've learned countless secret arts, countless divine skills, but none of them can compare to the limitless great Tao. What do we do? Can't we create an absolute art that's even more powerful than the infinite great Tao? The boundless grand Tao really is something that transcends the heavens and the earth. It's formed from countless fortuitous encounters and coincidences, and it's unparalleled in the world. It's practically unfathomable and boundless profundities. Jiang Nailan's eyes flashed with an opportunity. Actually, this has nothing to do with Jiang Li. It's just that he's the main character and has obtained a fortuitous encounter. Even without Jiang Li, the infinite Tao will still appear. It's just that it's Li Li, Wang Li, and Zhao Li. This was the throne of the Son of Heaven, and it belonged to the most capable. In the end, we will seize this infinite great Tao and ascend to the throne of the Emperor, becoming invincible. Do you think Jiang Li will come for it? Wan Qianqiu said. His infinite great Tao is truly unfathomable, and we are fated to be together. I think he will definitely kill us. Who knows, he might even be watching us from the side, waiting for us to take out the array diagram and completely suppress us. That's possible. Jiang Nailan looked at Wan Qianqiu approvingly. As expected of the child of destiny. Your understanding of destiny is profound. Once you return, I'll help you devour the river of destiny and become the strongest existence there is. Once we understand the reincarnation art, we'll have the power of reincarnation, and we'll be able to absorb the river of destiny as well. I need Permitha's will as well, or I won't be able to improve. But now, we need to be on guard against Jiang Li. If he suddenly attacks, we won't be able to defeat him. I've already made preparations. If he dares come, he'll die. Jiang Nailan's tone was calm, as if she were completely confident. I'm here to find the formation, but I'm actually setting up all sorts of bait. I won't give him the slightest chance to attack. That's true, Xian Yuanbian said. We believe in your abilities. Once we get 20% of the formation, we won't be killed again. Furthermore, we won't have to worry about any seals. Any seal will be countered by the formation. In that case, let's collect them again. Many of the people present shouted. Suddenly, the 5 of them joined together, almost turning into a person with 5 heads and 10 arms. With Jiang Nailan as the center, the formation enveloped them. Immediately, the crystal-like energy from the depths of the statue was absorbed one by one, blessing the bodies of the 5 of them, causing their strength to continuously increase. Of course, the one who increased the fastest was Jiang Nailan. He advanced by leaps and bounds, and within his body, dragons and tigers roared as the world exploded and reincarnated. This was where his secret lay. By absorbing the divine energy left behind by the Ho, he would possess a reincarnation imprint. At the very least, he would have the power of one reincarnation cycle, reaching the point where he could contend against Jiang Li. Jiang Li was able to see this advancement very clearly. However, he did not move. However, he had to move. If he did not move, Jiang Nalan would become stronger and stronger. If the 5 of them could each have a mark, adding on 2 formation diagrams, Jiang Li would not be a match for them at all. In this place, everything could change in an instant. Just when you thought that you had cultivated a peerless technique, others would surpass you. Jiang Li didn't dare to lower his guard. He knew that he was dancing on the tip of a knife at every moment, and it was incomparably dangerous. He had to constantly improve himself in order to grasp the situation. Otherwise, he might fall into a situation of eternal damnation. However, he could not act right now, as Jiang Nalan definitely had a backup plan. Luckily, he was not someone to be trifled with and knew what to do. Rumble! His entire body exploded out, and his boundless great Tao entered its strongest state. A shadow appeared on his forehead. This shadow was not his, but the shadow of the freak that had appeared in the depths of the Chaos God Palace. This freak was fated with Jiang Li, and Jiang Li had absorbed his power through the flickering Great Emperor. Jiang Li had also taken the 6 king seals from him. The freak deeply understood how powerful Jiang Li was. At the same time, he also hated Jiang Li to the bone. If he could kill Jiang Li, the freak would not hesitate to attack. However, Jiang Li's cultivation had risen to a terrifying level, and he had cultivated 102 laws and obtained the power of 3 reincarnations. In total, he had 8 seals, which was 11 reincarnations. Even though he was not as powerful as the freak, he could escape or hide and not be discovered by the freak. Moreover, he could also attract the freak's attention and have the freak come to kill him. Now this would come in handy. Boundless fate, seduce the freak. Jiang Li gave off waves of aura, and in that instant the heavens and earth changed color. The sun and moon dimmed, and a massive hand appeared above his head and ferociously grabbed towards him. This massive hand covered the sky and the sun, and its aura was majestic. It was similar to primal chaos, and it suppressed the ages. The power of primal chaos was displayed to its fullest. It was a freak, a malignant tumor born from primal chaos. Sensing Jiang Li's aura, he immediately attacked, making it so that Jiang Li could not retaliate. It was a pity that the instant the massive hand grabbed down, Jiang Li once again disappeared. The massive hand grabbed nothing, and when it moved again, it sensed the energy of the god's statue and the formation diagram. How powerful was the freak? How sensitive was his senses? How could he not know how powerful the King of Kings formation diagram was, as well as the power of the strongest experts Mark and Ho? After encountering such a treasure, he definitely had to immediately snatch it. Rumble! The massive hand grabbed towards Jiang Nalan and the others. The freak's power was nothing special when he didn't attack, but when he did, it was earth-shattering. His body was even stronger than that Ho, and this claw attack was filled with hatred. Before it even touched Jiang Nalan, the few of them were already immobilized. Their bodies began to explode, and even their imprints flew out. Not good, this is. Jiang Nalan was shocked. This isn't Jiang Li, but a freak from primal chaos. He's a tumor of primal chaos. Only when there's a problem with primal chaos can such a powerful existence be born. In a certain sense, he's an existence comparable to the son of primal chaos. Although Jiang Nalan was shocked, she did not panic. Instead, she suddenly summoned the formation diagram from the depths of her forehead. A tenth of the formation diagram flew out, and all of the marks stabilized and embedded themselves into the formation diagram. Rumble! A similar massive hand flew out from the center of the formation diagram and clashed with the freak's hand. Instantly, the world was filled with destructive ripples. Even the statue of Ho shot out layers of light. King of Kings formation diagram. Waves of light appeared, and there were mysterious and invincible ripples everywhere. This was the freak's ability. The freak unleashed all of his power, and he swore to steal the King of Kings formation diagram. As the freak's hand changed, Ho's body started to disintegrate inch by inch, and the formation diagram inside was revealed. It gave off all sorts of killing chi, and it seemed to want to absorb even more marks. Moreover, this formation diagram had a chance to strengthen the marks of the most powerful figures. You're seeking death. Even if you're a primal chaos freak, you'll still die. You can't oppose me. Jiang Nalan was incredibly furious, and he suddenly roared. A destructive aura appeared in the depths of the space behind him. This aura was not his own power, but it seemed to be connected to some powerful existence and summoned the most powerful divine ability. Swish! Boundless rivers rushed out, wanting to drown the freak's hand. The freak's hand slashed apart the rivers and once again slammed into Jiang Nalan's body. Jiang Nalan's body quickly changed, and he retracted the rivers and worked with the formation diagram to block the freak's attack. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Nalan's plan had been ruined, and he could no longer control the situation. At that moment, Jiang Li appeared outside the statue and turned into data. He entered the statue and tried to control Ho's body and obtain 1/10 of the King of Kings formation diagram. Chapter 952. Jiang Li's entire body was covered by a wave of vital qi. Ho's power had seeped into his great Tao, wanting to invade and even steal his soul, occupy his body, and devour his flesh and blood. Ho's heroic spirit was still there, devouring those with great providence to replenish itself. Over the years, countless people had tried to steal the qi formation diagram, but all of them had died. Their energy and vital qi had been absorbed by him, causing Ho to accumulate more and more power. It would not be easy for Jiang Li to take over Ho's body. His invasion was soundless, so the freaks outside, Jiang Nalan, and the others didn't know about it. They were still engaged in an earth-shattering battle that destroyed everything. Naturally, the divine statues were affected as well. The two of them were fighting over the god statues, causing the statue's power to be released to resist the corrosion. This made things easier for Jiang Li. Not bad, not bad. This Ho is indeed a peerless overlord, an existence that surpasses the strongest expert. He did not enter the reincarnation cycle, and after thousands of lifetimes, he has accumulated the greatest divine power. It won't be easy to take over his body now, but if I can obtain the formation diagram's core, I can completely suppress him. This is because he does not have the strongest expert's mark. Although the King of Kings formation diagram can restrain the mark, someone with the mark can also attract the formation diagram. As long as I obtain the formation diagram, I can use our fate and the true meaning of infinity to adjust yin and yang. I will be invincible under the heavens. Jiang Li was very clear about everything. His cultivation revolved. Infinity, 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 infinity. At this moment, his infinite great Tao changed again. The 102 laws all turned into laws that started with the word infinity, and they were still changing. It seemed that he was about to form 103 laws. Boundless primal chaos, vast great Tao, King of Kings, heaven and earth true dipper. At this moment, a will came from Ho's body. It was Ho's own will. Who dares to take over my body? Is it you? Lowly existence, in that case, I will extinguish your puny soul fire. Ho, you have already perished. Only a tiny bit of your will is left, and it cannot revive you. Jiang Li wasn't afraid at all. His entire body was focused, erupting with the strongest opportunity. His body had already become formless, devoid of thoughts, devoid of spirit, devoid of thoughts, and colorless. In this way there would be nothing left, so how could it be controlled by qi? Tian Ho had clearly discovered Jiang Li, but he didn't know where he was. He searched every inch of his body's energy, but he couldn't find anything. It was as if Zhongli had disappeared. But Zhongli did exist. It was because he was comprehending in silence, wanting to comprehend the 103 laws. The 102 laws were not easy. As for the 103 laws, they were created by Zhongli after comprehending the King of Kings formation diagram, and they were called no formation. The King of Kings formation diagram was a formation. What was a formation? All structures could be called arrays. The structure of the human body could also be called arrays. The composition of space could also be called arrays. In short, everything in the universe was made up of formations. There was the most basic form of energy, which evolved and interacted with each other to form a formation. The cells were a formation, the particles were a formation, and the cells made up the human body was also a formation. The soul was also a formation made up of many memories. There were formless formations and formless formations. They were both great formations. The King of Kings formation diagram could subdue all kinds of runes, and it was the peak of reincarnation formations. After thousands of reincarnations, the formation kings would be created, and the formation kings would correspond to each other. Controlling the most powerful experts would be incredibly easy. Zhongli wanted to create the no formation to counter the King of Kings formation diagram. Limitless Great Tao, 103 laws, no formation. As long as no formation appeared, he could control the King of Kings formation diagram. Everyone wanted to get their hands on this diagram so that they could control the life imprint of the strongest expert. If they could gather all 10 diagrams in one body, they would definitely be able to control it. If one could gather 10 formation diagrams, even 129,600 of the most powerful experts' life marks would be included. This was someone else's way of thinking. Zhang Li's way of thinking was completely different. He controlled the King of Kings formation diagram. This was the way of thinking of the limitless Lord, the most powerful expert after thousands of reincarnations. Formless transformation, fuse into body, laws appear. Zhang Li's essence went through a heaven-toppling change. Within his body, boundless essence energy surged and was absorbed. In that instant, large amounts of the Hui's energy disappeared. Crack! Another reincarnator mark appeared within Zhang Li's body. The limitless Great Tao, 103 laws, was also successfully condensed. Outside, the limitless river once again trembled and expanded. It swept through the heavens and earth, sweeping everything in its path and devouring all rivers. In the depths of the red dust world, the changes within the space were even more perfect, and no one could shake its essence. The red dust world itself was a large formation. Without a formation, the energy would turn into primal chaos. Only a formation could extract all kinds of substances from the primal chaos and stabilize them. Formations were the power of structure. Stability determined everything. Now that Zhang Li had cultivated the formless Tao, his control over the formation was strengthened. He was the true master of all formations, and even the King of Kings formation diagram was restricted by him. Because of that, the various formations in the red dust world became even tighter, and no one could break them. Primal chaos was formless, which was why he was primal chaos. Zhang Li had cultivated the 103 laws, and was now very close to primal chaos. Incredible! Zhang Li has cultivated the 103 laws of the limitless Great Tao. Look, the limitless river is devouring the river of destiny. Luo Feng, Hong Heiyu, and Dream Kite gathered together and attacked the surrounding world. They had already fused with the surrounding cosmos, which was as big as the celestial world, and were digesting its resources. This was a vast process that would take a long time. But just now, the cosmos had disappeared without a trace. The red dust world's essence had grown stronger, and more space, land plates, and energy spheres had been born. The entire red dust world seemed to have evolved into a living being. It was a person, a magic treasure, a formation, and a living being. The limitless golden core shone even more brightly. The limitless great Tao firmly grasped the first position, and it left all other divine abilities far behind. Countless experts gathered together and started to cultivate the limitless great Tao. There were even some secret experts who now realized that the limitless great Tao was the true path. All divine abilities were low-grade, and only the limitless great Tao was the highest. If you didn't cultivate the limitless great Tao, and instead cultivated other divine abilities, it would be like throwing away gold and picking up trash. No one would do something so trashy. Most importantly, even if you cultivated the limitless great Tao, you wouldn't be under Zhang Li's control. The limitless was the limitless, and divine abilities had nothing to do with people. The limitless was the limitless of all living beings, not the limitless of one person. If the limitless was the limitless of one person, then that person wasn't truly limitless. However, everyone who cultivated the limitless great Tao would have their wills gathered in the depths of the limitless river, which in turn would provide power and cultivation for Zhongli. There was nothing that could be done about it. It was an advantage given to the founder, and also a source of destiny. Rumble. In the depths of the void world, a vortex appeared in the limitless river, which began to absorb the river of fate. The river of fate hung there in the air, and although it was at a disadvantage, the Permitha fortress ship continued to rise and fall in the depths of fate. Their powers were attracted to each other, and they complemented each other, creating a heaven-shaking, earth-toppling divine ability. Whoosh! The limitless river completely controlled the river of fate, and it wanted to devour fate as well. Ever since it devoured the river of time, its power surpassed everything else, and it devoured other rivers one after another. Now, the limitless river had fused with the river of martial path, the river of time, the river of kingship, and the river of slaughter. The river of noble Qi was already extremely dangerous. Originally, the river of noble Qi was the guardian of the righteous celestial realm, but now, it was about to be devoured by the limitless river. The moment the limitless river devoured the river of fate, it flowed toward the center, emitting a force like a whale sucking in water, and instantly pulled the river of noble Qi. The river of noble Qi couldn't resist the limitless river at all. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The river of noble Qi turned into a white waterfall, and it was forcibly absorbed by the limitless river. The limitless river originally contained tyranny, arrogance, and everything that it contained. Limitless meant that it contained everything. Rumble. The river of noble Qi was devoured, and it turned into a white golden elixir. It actually merged with the limitless golden elixir, and instantly, it was fed back into the red dust world. In the depths of the red dust world, righteousness was born, and all the negative emotions were swept away. Righteousness was the support of a world. A world had to have righteous beliefs to maintain order. Order itself was a kind of righteousness, and after merging with the river of noble Qi, it was extremely beneficial to the stability of the hearts of the people in the red dust world. Of course, merging with the river of noble Qi wasn't much. Merging with the river of fate was the most important thing. Once one merged with the river of fate, the fate of the people in the red dust world would really be in their control. Without the restrictions of fate, one could control their own fate, and the laws of the world would change fundamentally. Buzz! The power of the river of fate couldn't resist the pull of the limitless river, and in the process, a large amount of power was lost. Even the Permitha River couldn't suppress it, and it had to merge with the limitless river. Dream Kite and the others were very excited to see the changes. The benefits of devouring the river of fate weren't small, but they would improve by leaps and bounds. Suddenly, in the depths of the infinite worlds, a huge hand flew out again. In the blink of an eye, the finger seemed to traverse the three worlds, and its power covered the heavens and earth as it slammed into the limitless river. The entire limitless river surged like a storm. That mysterious almighty figure had appeared again. In the depths of the material world, there was a hidden almighty figure. He had appeared once before, and now he had appeared again. This time, he didn't want to take away the limitless river. At this moment, the limitless river wasn't something he could take away. He wanted to save the river of fate from being devoured. Chapter 953. That annoying ancient higher being had appeared again. No one knew where he was hiding or when he would attack, but every time he attacked, it would shake the heavens and earth. This time, the large hand grabbed slightly, pulling at the river of fate in the depths of the void. It exploded, causing the river of fate to break free from the boundless river's control. Damn it! Dream Kite, Hong Heiyu, and Luo Feng all cried out in fury. The boundless river was about to devour the river of fate. Once it succeeded, the boundless great Tao would surpass everything, and everyone's strength would skyrocket. However, the mysterious higher being had taken away the river of fate. In an instant, a majestic power covered down and hid the river of fate. There was no longer any trace of the river of fate. It was as if it had disappeared. Even the boundless great Tao would find it difficult to find a target. As such, the boundless great Tao's plan to devour the river of fate completely failed. The heavens and earth continuously changed, but the red dust realm's changes gradually slowed down. What a pity, what a pity! Hong Heiyu shook his head, but they could not do anything about that ancient higher being. He was in existence even more powerful than the strongest expert. Humph! Within the depths of the primal chaos core, Zhongli, who was not in the reincarnation world, knew that his 103 laws had finally been completed. The depths of the King of Kings formation diagram started to change. He could not chase after the ancient higher being outside, so he had to first collect Huey's formation diagram. Now that the boundless great Tao was complete, collecting the King of Kings formation diagram was incredibly easy. In fact, Zhongli could even completely absorb Huey's energy, causing his cultivation to increase. Rumble. 1/10 of the King of Kings formation diagrams that C had obtained were all absorbed in an instant. Within Zhongli's body, the formation diagram appeared. 1/10 of the formation diagram had the 8 strongest experts' marks placed together. As expected, the combination of the marks and formation diagram produced an immeasurable and invincible change. Buzz, vast amounts of vital energy were boiling, and the marks of the most powerful experts instantly glowed with the most perfect luster. This luster gathered and turned into a straight beam of light that seemed to be able to pierce through the chaos and melt everything in its path. Sure enough, when the array diagram is condensed and combined with the mark of the strongest expert, it has the power to turn the world upside down. It's much stronger than a simple mark. No wonder Jiang Nalin is so fierce. But now that I have obtained 1/10 of the array diagram, I can completely suppress this child. Not only that, all the energy of this puppet will be mine. Although I can't absorb it now, I can store it in the depths of the infinite gold core as the strongest energy storage. Zhongli rotated his cultivation base and directly absorbed the power of the pyrolite. In the blink of an eye, all of the pyrolite's power was absorbed into him. This energy rippled, shattering time and space, reaching the endless golden cores. Pyrolite's power was equivalent to dozens of the strongest experts combined. When this power entered the boundless golden core, the boundless golden core's transformation was even greater than devouring the river of fate. Ka-cha ka-cha. The boundless golden core split open, but the light grew brighter and brighter. It was constantly reforming and rearranging itself, illuminating even the primal chaos. The red dust world expanded, as if it had been injected with a shot of adrenaline. Unfortunately, such an enormous amount of power was difficult to digest. It would take time and effort. Buzz. Jiang Li's body exploded. In the instant of the explosion, he disappeared. He didn't come out to fight it out with Jiang Nailin, the freak. That would be meaningless. He could suppress Jiang Nailin, but that freak would be difficult to deal with. Furthermore, suppressing Jiang Nailin wasn't going to be easy. Jiang Nailin seemed to be backed by an almighty primeval being, and if he wanted to kill Jiang Nailin, that almighty primeval being would most likely appear. Besides that, Jiang Li had many enemies, such as the mysterious Yuanshi. Since he had come here, he had long entered the core. The treasures he had obtained were naturally earth-shattering. His current power might even be stronger than that freak's, but he was restrained by the primal chaos and had yet to break the seal. Yuanshi was the most sinister and ruthless. He could come out at any time to kill him. In addition, the three-dimensional universe had disappeared. That person also had the power to overturn the heavens and earth. It was very likely that he had entered the core. This was something he had to pay attention to. Since Jiang Li had obtained 1/10 of the formation map, the rest was easy. He just had to search for the formation map and increase his power step by step. At the same time, he would spread the infinite great Tao to the core. There were countless living beings in the core, far more than in the material world outside. Of course, Jiang Li's greatest hope was for the Armageddon to start cultivating the infinite great Tao. The Armageddon cultivated the Chaos Divine Fist, but the Chaos Divine Fist was also a part of the infinite great Tao. From a certain point of view, no one could compare to Jiang Li's infinite great Tao. As long as he was given enough time to grow, he could even surpass the primal chaos and become an unimaginable existence. As time passed, the infinite great Tao would spread like a rolling snowball. Everyone in the material world would start cultivating, and Jiang Li's prestige would become more and more profound. However, it was not something that Yuanshi could compare to.